Chapter 9:21. By Qi Shui and the other disciples of Talisman Puppet Sect were also dumbfounded. Lu Ming was actually able to fight against Little Devil, Lord Luoli. This improvement was too great. Kill! Little Devil Lord roared as Devil Qi churned on his body. His blade light soared into the sky. Whoosh! The shocking blade light sliced through the air and slashed towards Lu Ming. This slash was a lot stronger than the previous one. Let's see how you block it. Little Devil Lord's cold voice rang out along with the blade light. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward. The aura on his body became even stronger as a second dragon force burst forth from his body. Boom! Just like before, a loud boom rang out as the energy rumbled. Bang! 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 This time, Little Devil Lord also retreated 3 steps, while Lu Ming only retreated 2 steps. Little Devil Lord was actually at a disadvantage. Everyone was astonished. Now, they could see that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 2nd level of Spirit Embryo Realm, while Little Devil Lord was at the 4th level. Lu Ming was actually able to surpass 2 levels and suppress Little Devil Lord. How was this possible? It was simply inconceivable. Who was Little Devil Lord? A genius among geniuses. Ah, die, I want you to die. 9 deaths, Devil Blade. Little Devil Lord roared as his killing intent surged like a tide. His blade light slashed out with terrifying devil might. With just you, it's still not enough. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed towards Little Devil Lord. Another dragon force burst forth from his body. Lu Ming's strength became even stronger. Every punch caused the space to tremble violently as though it could break apart at any time. Lu Ming and Little Devil Lord fought fiercely, causing the entire area to tremble violently. Swoosh! The 2 of them fought from the ground to the sky, exchanging dozens of blows in the blink of an eye. Bang! Next, a figure fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. It was Little Devil Lord Luoli. He was injured, actually injured by Lu Ming. Lu Ming stood in the air, hovering in the air. His gaze was cold as he looked down at the little demon lord. Swoosh! Whoosh! At this time, Brother Blazing Heaven and the 2 powerful geniuses of the Sky Demon Valley moved and surrounded Lu Ming. Luoli, let's take down Lu Ming together. Li Tiangu said. That's right. There's no need to talk nonsense with him. The Sky Pride of the Sky Demon Valley added. Blood Swordsman 7 and Blood Swordsman 9 also looked at Lu Ming unkindly. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly burst into laughter. Lu Ming, what are you laughing at? Li Tian said coldly. Do you think you can take me down by joining hands? What a joke. If I really fight to the death, I have enough confidence to kill one of you. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept over Blazing Heaven Brothers group. For some reason, they felt a chill in their hearts when Lu Ming's gaze swept over them. They didn't doubt Lu Ming's words. Lu Ming and Little Devil Lord had fought just now. Although Little Devil Lord hadn't used his full strength and hadn't used Bloodline Fusion, Lu Ming hadn't used Bloodline Fusion either. Moreover, none of them knew if Lu Ming had other trump cards that he hadn't used yet. If he had more powerful trump cards, it was still possible for him to kill one of them. Who would be willing to die together with Lu Ming? Thinking of this, their faces turned ugly. I've said that I'm here to cooperate this time. Let the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect go, and I'll help you break the array. After that, the treasures inside will depend on your own abilities. How about that? If we really fight, no one will be able to get the treasures inside the ruins. Lu Ming said. This time, the scene fell into silence. The 7th Blood Sword and the others wore solemn expressions as if they were in deep thought. Lu Ming wore a faint smile on his face. This was strength. Only when one was powerful could they talk about cooperation. Right now, Lu Ming had already displayed his powerful strength. Without strength, it would be a joke to talk about cooperation with him, as they would be suppressed by him immediately. It's impossible to let the disciples of the talisman puppet sect go. If we really let them go, we might not be able to stop you no matter what tricks you try. Li Tiangu said, That's right, we can't let them go, but we can ask them to help you break the array. Li Tiangu said, If the disciples of the talisman puppet sect were to help Lu Ming break the array, they would be on guard in the surroundings. This way, Lu Ming wouldn't be able to pull any tricks. All right, let's do it. Let the disciples of the talisman puppet sect come here, and let the disciples of the talisman puppet sect who are trying to break the array go. Lu Ming said. Li Tiangu and the others nodded. They then let the disciples of the talisman puppet sect come to Lu Ming's side. Zongzi. Lu Ming Zongzi. The disciples of the talisman puppet sect came to Lu Ming's side and looked at Lu Ming with gratitude. Lu Ming nodded. He casually looked to the front and said coldly, There's one more person. Why don't you let her go? Bai Qi Shui was still in their hands. We can't let this girl go. I can see that she has a special relationship with you. In order to prevent you from pulling any tricks, we have to keep her in our hands. Little Demon Lord walked to Bai Qi Shui's side and said with a cunning smile. Lu Ming's eyes flickered coldly. These people were all geniuses with deep thoughts and meticulous thoughts. Of course, they wouldn't completely trust Lu Ming. All right, let's go break the array now, Lu Ming said and strode into the ruins. The other disciples of the talisman puppet sect followed closely behind him. Let's go. Don't let him pull any tricks. Little Demon Lord said, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. He hated Lu Ming to the core. The geniuses of the Sky Demon Valley and the Heavenly Corpse sect also nodded. The three parties left a few people outside to keep watch. They all moved and followed Lu Ming's group. Little Demon Lord even took action personally. His fingers clasped Bai Qi Shui's shoulder, not giving her a chance to escape. After a few thousand meters, Lu Ming stopped. In front was the area densely covered with arrays. This area was about 10,000 meters deep. After crossing this area, they would reach the core of the palace. In other words, this 10,000-meter area was densely covered with arrays. Lu Ming lightly stepped on the ground. Rows of inscriptions slithered forward like small snakes. In the next moment, complex arrays appeared on the ground in front of him, shining with a 7-colored light. Lu Ming's eyes stared at those arrays without blinking. He looked for the weaknesses of the arrays and thought of a way to break them. After a while, he stretched out his finger and waved it in the air. Inscriptions flew forward and entered those arrays. Pum! Pum! Suddenly, several arrays collapsed, turning into light and dissipating. Brother Blazing Heaven, Seventh Blood Sword, and the others' eyes lit up. In just a short while, Lu Ming had broken several arrays. There was hope for them. At the same time, their eyes revealed a dignified expression. Lu Ming's level of inscription was above their imagination. Luoli, keep a close eye on that woman. This Lu Ming is well versed in the Tao of arrays. We have to be careful and prevent him from playing any tricks. Chapter 922. I know. Don't worry. With me watching her, Lu Ming won't have a chance. Luoli nodded. Zongzi is amazing. The disciples of the talisman puppet sect looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Some of them had been cracking the formations here for a few days and knew how difficult it was to crack them. In the past few days, many disciples of the talisman puppet sect had been killed by the formations. However, Lu Ming had only been here for a short while and he had already cracked a few formations. They knew that Lu Ming was much better than them in terms of formations. Lu Ming continued to observe. This time he spent less time. He waved his fingers and another array formation in front of him collapsed. Lu Ming discovered that the array formations that appeared in the world of the Battle of Providence would not be particularly advanced or difficult. There would not be array formations that were far beyond their capabilities. It was as if they were doing it on purpose to give them a chance to gain experience. Lu Ming was very curious about the Battle of Providence. He had a feeling that there was a pair of invisible hands behind the scenes that were manipulating everything. He shook his head. These were not things that he could think about now. It was useless to think about it. It was said that the Battle of Providence was going on in the other continents. What was the use of thinking about such a powerful ability to control the land of infinity to carry out the Battle of Providence? Even martial emperors would obediently nurture the geniuses of their sects to obtain luck. Did those martial emperors not want to find out the secret behind it? Of course they wanted to, but they did not have the ability. Lu Ming shook off the distracting thoughts in his mind and continued to crack the formations. His speed of breaking the formation was very fast. As he broke the formation he walked in. In just a day's time, they had advanced 3,000 meters. The little demon lord and the others followed closely behind Lu Ming. Their eyes were shining with a fiery light. This ruin was filled with so many formations. It was definitely extraordinary. The treasures inside were definitely extraordinary. If they could obtain them, it would be a great opportunity. Furthermore, the Providence points would be very high. They were all looking forward to it. However, Lu Ming's speed of breaking the formation slowed down. The deeper he went, the more complicated the formation became, and the harder it was to break it. After that, it took them 2 days to advance another 3 kilometers. He was still 4,000 meters away from the palaces. Lu Ming spent a total of 5 days on the final 4,000 meters. From start to finish, Lu Ming had already broken the formation for 8 consecutive days. At this moment, they were only about 100 meters away from the palaces. But here they stopped. In front of them, the formation shone brightly. Flames, ice, lightning, and poisonous gas flickered continuously, blocking their line of sight. They couldn't see what was in front of them at all. Lu Ming had been standing there for 3 whole hours. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Why haven't you broken the formation yet? Little demon lord berated. I can't break the formation here. Lu Ming shook his head. You can't break it? Little demon lord and the others were stunned. Lu Ming, you better think of a way to break it. Otherwise, none of your talisman puppet sect can leave. You will all die here. Little demon lord said coldly. Idiot. Lu Ming looked at little demon lord and suddenly berated. What? What did you say? You bastard, what did you say? Little demon lord roared. Lu Ming actually called him an idiot? His anger soared. If you're not an idiot, then what are you? I said that I can't break it, but it doesn't mean that we can't enter. In the Tao of formations, there is life and death. As long as we find the path of life, there is no need to break it. If you don't even know this common sense, then what are you if you're not an idiot? Lu Ming sneered. Little demon lord's face flushed red and he almost vomited blood. If not for the fact that he needed Lu Ming now, he would have killed Lu Ming with a palm. Bastard, just you wait. After entering the palace, I will kill all the disciples of the talisman puppet sect and enjoy this woman in front of you. Little demon lord roared in his heart, his eyes incomparably cold. Lu Ming, you've been watching for so long. Do you see where the path of life is? Brother Blazing Heaven asked. Over there. Lu Ming pointed forward. The expressions of Brother Blazing Heaven and the others changed. Lu Ming, are you joking? Brother Blazing Heaven said with a sullen face. This was because the direction that Lu Ming was pointing at was a sea of fire. Terrifying flames were burning. Just one look at it was terrifying. That is the path of life. If you don't believe me, you can send people ahead and try. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Humph, do you think we're stupid? Let the people of the talisman puppet sect go first. Little demon lord said coldly. That's right. Let the people of the talisman puppet sect go first. Seventh blood sword said coldly. Lu Ming's expression turned ugly. You guys go first. Lu Ming said to the disciples of the talisman puppet sect. The disciples of the talisman puppet sect looked at each other, fear in their eyes as they looked at the flames in front of them. "Let's go. Zongzi won't harm us." Hai Fei took the lead and walked forward, followed by Lu Guang. Then the other disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect followed and stepped into the sea of flames. The moment they stepped into the sea of flames twisted and the figures of the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect disappeared. It is indeed the path of life. Hurry up and follow them. Don't let the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect escape. Little Demon Lord quickly ordered. A few of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's geniuses led a dozen men of sacrifice and rushed into the sea of flames. But the moment they rushed into the sea of flames, they let out miserable screams as they were burned by the flames and turned into ashes in the blink of an eye. The power of the flames was extremely terrifying. "What's going on?" "Damn it, Lu Ming, you cheated. You're courting death." Little Demon Lord immediately roared. Brother Blazing Heaven, Seventh Blood Sword, and the others also emitted a terrifying killing intent that enveloped Lu Ming. "What do you mean by I cheated? You're just too anxious. The array here is overlapping and constantly changing. The path of life is also constantly changing. It was a path of life just now, but now it's a path of death. It's normal," Lu Ming said with a faint smile. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Little Demon Lord roared. "You didn't ask me? Why should I tell you? Also, didn't I tell your people to go first? I originally planned to let a group of your people go in first and wait for the path of life to change and find another path of life to enter. You were the one who insisted on letting the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect go first. Then, before I could say anything, your people rushed forward. Who's to blame?" Lu Ming curled his lips and looked at Little Demon Lord with disdain. Little Demon Lord was so angry that his body trembled. "All right, Lu Ming, why don't you find another path of life?" Brother Blazing Heaven said with a frown. At the same time, they watched Bai Chi Snow even more closely. Now the Talisman Puppet sect only had Bai Chi Snow in their hands. Lu Ming continued to watch. After a while, he pointed at a place full of lightning and said, "That's the path of life. Let's go from there. You guys go first." Little Demon Lord pointed at a few men of sacrifice. "If you want to go, go more. Don't go in a few. The more this array operates, the more changes there will be. After a while, even I won't be able to break it." Chapter 923. All of you go together. Don't worry, with us here, he won't dare to play any tricks. The Little Demon Lord pointed at some of the geniuses. As for Blood Sword 7 and the geniuses of Sky Monster Valley, they also arranged for a group of people to follow Lu Ming's directions and rush in. Sure enough, nothing happened. As soon as these people rushed into the thunder area, their figures flashed and they all vanished. As a result, the complexions of Brother Blazing Heaven and the others improved a bit. Then, Lu Ming continued to look around, looking for a way out. After a while, Lu Ming pointed at an area covered in ice and said, "Let's go this way." However, the Little Demon Lord, Brother Blazing Heaven, Blood Sword 7, and the others didn't move. These strongest geniuses didn't trust Lu Ming. If what Lu Ming said was false, wouldn't they die an unjust death if they went in? Although they had Bai Chi Snow in their hands, when it came to their own lives, they naturally had to be cautious. "I think that it's best if we go in together." The Little Demon Lord looked at Lu Ming and slowly pushed Bai Chi Snow forward. Brother Blazing Heaven and the others nodded. This was for the best. If there was a trap, then Lu Ming and Bai Chi Snow would be in danger. That's for the best. You and Qi Shui go first, and I'll go in the middle. You can rest easy like this. Lu Ming took several steps back, as if he wanted to step aside. Good. Lu Ming, you better not play any tricks. Otherwise both of you will die. The Little Demon Lord coldly said. He held Bai Chi Snow's shoulder and walked forward. Lu Ming stood there motionless. Only then did the Little Demon Lord relax and walk towards the ice area. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this time, the ground began to shine. At some unknown time, an array formation had appeared. Several sharp sword energies pierced towards the little demon lord's forehead, their speed as fast as lightning. The little demon lord's heart had just relaxed, so he didn't expect this move. He subconsciously let go and retreated in order to protect himself. Whoosh! At this time, Lu Ming moved. His body was like a stream of light as he charged at the little demon lord. His terrifying fist energy was like a storm as it bombarded the little demon lord. Lu Ming! The little demon lord roared and slashed out with his saber. Bang! The little demon lord retreated again and again. Damn it, block the exit! Brother Blazing Heaven, Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the Sky Monster Valley's Sky Prides all roared. Among them, one of the Sky Prides from the Sky Monster Valley was the fastest and was the closest to the ice area. His figure flashed and appeared at the entrance of the ice area, preventing Lu Ming from entering. As for the others, they all made their moves and charged towards Lu Ming. Brother Blazing Heaven, Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the prodigies of the demon race from Sky Demon Valley were all at the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, especially Brother Blazing Heaven and Blood Sword 7, who had reached the peak of the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. With everyone joining hands, their power was terrifying, as if they wanted to crush Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming did not hesitate and directly exploded with 5 dragon forces. His body was filled with power. Qi Shui, go to the poison area. True essence burst forth as Lu Ming pulled by Qi Shui and pushed her into the poison area. No one stopped them in front of the poison area. Lu Ming had said that the ice area was the way out, but that was a lie. In fact, the poison area was the way out. His goal was to distract the other party. Bai Qi Shui's figure entered the poison area and disappeared. No one stopped her at all. Damn it! Brother Blazing Heaven and the others knew that they had been tricked. Boom! Boom! While pushing Bai Qi Shui away, Lu Ming threw out a few punches to stop Brother Blazing Heaven and the others, stalling for time and waiting for the way out. Everyone attacked each other, and the terrifying light drowned Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body shook violently as he retreated. Ah, damn it, stop him! Little Demon Lord roared and rushed towards Lu Ming. This was the truth. He did not dare to rush into the poison area. Who knew if the way out had changed? He could only take down Lu Ming and ask him to lead the way. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and an array appeared. Then he threw out a series of punches, sending out a terrifying fist energy. His array and martial arts combined to stop the other Sky Prides. Lu Ming, you can't leave today. So what if you saved the people of the Talisman Puppet Sect? You have to stay here too. Brother Blazing Heaven's eyes were cold as a flaming sword condensed in his hand, emitting a shocking heat. This was the Li Fire, an extremely terrifying flame that was not inferior to the Wang family's pure purple heavenly fire. At the same time, Blood Sword 7 and Blood Sword 9's bodies were covered in blood-red light. The blood-red sword light emitted a strong smell of blood as it cut through the void and slashed towards Lu Ming. A Sky Pride from the Heavenly Demon Valley turned into a fierce tiger and clawed at him. At the same time, Little Demon Lord and a Sky Pride from the Heavenly Demon Tribe also attacked. The 6 Sky Prides worked together and their power was shocking. The 6 of them attacked Lu Ming from different directions. Lu Ming didn't take the attack head-on. He directly rushed towards Blood Sword 9, who looked the weakest. Boom! A punch landed on the blood-colored sword gleam. Blood Sword 9's body shook violently and he continued to retreat. Lu Ming took big strides forward. His figure flashed continuously, avoiding the attacks of the various prodigies and dashing toward the Thunderbolt area at top speed. Oh no! The lightning area is the way out. He wants to go in. Stop him! Li Tianhe roared. Roar! That ferocious tiger roared. With a kick of its 4 legs, It pounced toward Lu Ming at lightning speed. However, Lu Ming's body paused and he suddenly retreated, avoiding the ferocious tiger's attack and dodging to the other side. "Stay here!" Little Demon King hollered furiously. A pitch-black saber gleam slashed toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's body paused again. He dodged Little Demon Lord's attack like a slippery loach and dodged to the other side. He was extremely agile and dodged left and right. He didn't want to fight them head-on. In addition, they had to guard against the array in front of them to prevent Lu Ming from breaking out. They couldn't do anything to Lu Ming. Damn it! The 6 Sky Prides were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. As for the others, they couldn't stop Lu Ming at all. After being hit by Lu Ming, their bones were broken and their tendons were broken. Swish! Lu Ming's figure flashed again, and he dashed toward the flame area. They thought that the fire area was the way out and tried to stop him. However, Lu Ming suddenly turned and rushed towards the poisonous area. This time, Lu Ming shook them off and stepped into the poisonous area. In a flash, his figure disappeared. This is the way out. Rush in. The green-robed young man from Sky Demon Valley was the fastest. He followed Lu Ming and rushed into the poisonous area. However, as soon as he rushed into the poisonous area, he immediately let out a scream and turned into a green divine eagle. He burst out with all his strength and rushed out. However, his body was green and he was poisoned. If it weren't for his high cultivation and powerful combat strength, he would have died inside. Obviously, the reason why Lu Ming was running around with them just now was to calculate the time. He had calculated the time. When the poisonous area was about to become the way out, Lu Ming rushed in. When the green-robed young man followed him in, the way out had changed into a dead end. Lu Ming had calculated all of this. Ah, damn Lu Ming, bastard, beast, I will kill you. Chapter 924. The others also had ugly expressions. So many of them were watching. But in the end, Lu Ming still managed to save all the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect. They couldn't even stop Lu Ming himself. If news of this spread out, they would lose a lot of face. Since the paths of life and death are constantly changing, let's try them one by one. After all, there are only 9 areas. Brother Blazing Heaven said coldly, "Yes, that's the only way. You go to the fire area and you go to the ice area." Immediately, Blood Sword 17 began to instruct the men of sacrifice. The 9 areas were constantly changing. That was easy. As long as 9 men of sacrifice stepped into the 9 areas at the same time, they would know which area was the path of life. The 9 death warriors stepped into 9 different areas at the same time without hesitation. Immediately, 8 of them died. Only one survived in an area covered in black fog. With a flash, he disappeared without a trace. The path of life is there. Let's go. Little Demon Lord and the others all rushed into the black fog area and disappeared. After Lu Ming stepped into the poisonous area, he appeared in front of a palace in the next moment. In all directions, there was not a single person. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect and the disciples of the other forces were nowhere to be seen. It seems that the teleportation array was randomly teleported to every corner of the palace complex. Lu Ming thought, I hope Qi Shui and the others don't encounter Little Demon Lord and the others. Lu Ming knew that the formation couldn't stop Little Demon Lord and the others. He only needed to send 9 people to give it a try. Immediately, Lu Ming looked around. What entered his eyes were palaces everywhere. There were some small alleys between the palaces. Then, Lu Ming walked into the palace in front of him. There was nothing in the palace. It was empty. Shaking his head, Lu Ming walked along a small alley and walked towards the other palaces. However, after walking for a while, he frowned. He found that he had stepped into a formation. This formation was like a maze. After walking in the alley for a while, he returned to the original place. There was also a formation in this palace. Instead of being surprised, Lu Ming was happy. It was good to have a formation. It was an advantage for the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Even if they encountered Little Demon Lord and the others, they might still have a chance to escape. Immediately, Lu Ming carefully observed his surroundings. After a while, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He walked forward with mysterious steps, 1 to the east and 2 steps to the west. Half an hour later, he walked out of the maze formation. In front of him, a huge palace appeared in front of him. The palace's gate was tightly. Lu Ming went forward and pushed the door. The door opened and Lu Ming walked in. The palace was empty, but there was a stone door in the innermost part. Lu Ming walked to the gate. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, there was a sharp piercing sound from both sides. 2 rays of saber gleams slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body moved and dodged backwards, dodging the 2 blade lights. However, the 2 blade lights continued to slash towards Lu Ming. Puppets! At this moment, Lu Ming discovered that the ones attacking him were 2 puppets. The 2 puppets were in human form. Their bodies had a metallic luster, and their eyes were golden. They were filled with a cold and merciless aura. Each of them had a huge blade in their hands as they slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming circulated hell, suppressing heavenly technique, and 4 kinds of conceptions swirled around his palm as he struck out twice. Clang! Clang! 2 loud clangs rang out as the 2 puppets were forced back by Lu Ming's strikes. Equivalent to the peak of the 3rd level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The 2 puppets were forced back by Lu Ming. With a stomp of their feet, they rushed towards Lu Ming again. Swoosh! Lu Ming dodged and struck out with 2 more palms. These 2 palms directly struck the 2 puppets, and the 2 puppets were smashed into pieces. Lu Ming took big strides forward and walked towards the stone door. No puppets came out to stop him. Lu Ming pushed open the stone door, and in front of him was a stone room. In front of the stone room, there was another stone door. However, when Lu Ming stepped into the stone room, 2 more puppets appeared and attacked Lu Ming. This time, the 2 puppets' abilities had reached the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. They were still easily dealt with by Lu Ming. Lu Ming went forward and pushed open the stone door. Behind the stone door, there was another stone room. In front of the stone room, there was another stone door. This time, there were a total of 9 puppets at the 4th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. What's in front? This stage is extremely similar to a test. I want to take a look. Lu Ming's thoughts turned rapidly, and he burst forth with attacks. In a short while, the 9 puppets were scattered by him. As expected, there were stone rooms below, and in every stone room, there were puppets. Furthermore, their abilities were getting stronger and stronger. When Lu Ming walked to the 9th stone room, the puppets that appeared had already reached the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. However, they still couldn't stop Lu Ming and were defeated by Lu Ming one by one. After the 9th stone room, there were no more stone rooms. Instead, there was a passageway. On both sides of the passageway, there were metallic puppets standing motionlessly with battle knives in their hands. Nest, and also, what realm are the puppets here at? They can't all be at the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm, right? Lu Ming thought speechlessly. He slowly walked forward. Kacha! Suddenly a puppet moved. Its cold eyes that were emitting a metallic luster looked towards Lu Ming. Bang! It took a step forward, and the battle knife in its hand emitted a sharp glow as it slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming burst forth with 5 rays of dragon energy and punched the puppet. Bang! A dull sound rang out, and the puppet retreated 6 to 7 steps back. Lu Ming also retreated 6 to 7 steps back. Nest, this is definitely a puppet at the peak of the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. What powerful strength! Lu Ming was secretly astonished. Your abilities are not bad. To actually be able to force me back. At this moment, the puppet actually opened its mouth. However, its voice was cold and emotionless. What's inside? Lu Ming asked. There's an important treasure inside. Along the way, there are tests. Our abilities will be adjusted according to the abilities of the people who enter. The stronger the person, the stronger our abilities will be. Only if you pass the tests can you obtain the important treasure inside. The puppet opened its mouth, and similarly it was emotionless. So many puppets at the peak of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. How can I defeat them all? Are you messing with me? Lu Ming looked at the two sides of the passageway. There were over 100 puppets in total, and he was speechless. With his current battle power, how is it possible for him to defeat over 100 puppets at the peak of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm? If he burst forth with his strongest battle power and circulated the suppressing heavenly technique to the maximum, it was still possible for him to defeat 2 to 3 puppets. However, after that he would run out of vital essence and be unable to fight anymore. This test was too difficult. He was only at the 2nd level of spirit embryo realm, and the puppets that appeared were at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. How many people could cross 5 levels? You don't need to defeat all of us. You just need to pass through this passageway. Chapter 9:25. I just need to pass through? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Passing through and defeating them were two different concepts. If he only needed to pass through, it would be much easier. Lu Ming carefully looked at the passage in front of him. Suddenly, he waved his finger, and various inscription formations spread out from his body. They were all auxiliary types. Together with the formations, Lu Ming's strength increased again. He moved and rushed toward the passage. He planned to catch the puppets off guard and rush through the passage in one fell swoop. However, the puppets seemed to have known that he was going to attack. When Lu Ming moved, the puppets also moved. Sharp saber light slashed toward Lu Ming. On both sides of the passage, the other puppets also looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Nest, you're so fast. Since the surprise attack failed, Lu Ming could only use his real strength to break through. Swish! His figure flashed and avoided the saber light of the first puppet. He flashed past it, but what greeted him was more saber light. Lu Ming punched continuously and collided with the sabers that were slashing toward him. The powerful force made Lu Ming's body tremble, and the saber light was also repelled by Lu Ming. Swish! Lu Ming used the 9 dragons, sky-stomping steps, and rushed forward. Unfortunately, the space was too narrow. The power of the 9 dragons, sky-stomping steps, could not be unleashed. As soon as he moved, the saber light in front of him slashed toward him. Lu Ming was surrounded, and all the space was sealed. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and could only keep punching forward. Although he had the help of the formation, it was still very difficult to advance. These puppets were made of strange metals. They were invulnerable and extremely hard. The most amazing thing was that they could use martial arts. A puppet was more difficult to deal with than a human warrior of the same level. Lu Ming kept attacking, but he only broke through the encirclement of more than 10 puppets. There were still 80 or 90 puppets in front of him. I don't believe that I can't break through. Lu Ming gritted his teeth. With a dragon roar, the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. Lu Ming used bloodline fusion and turned into a 2-meter long 9 dragons. The 9 dragon claws slashed out in all directions, knocking away the saber lights. The battle prowess of the 9 dragons had increased once more, and the speed of their charge had increased once more. Boom! 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 Terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard coming from the tunnel, echoing unceasingly in the tunnel. Half an hour later, Lu Ming finally managed to dash through the passageway. As soon as they passed through the tunnel, the puppets calmed down and stood motionless on both sides of the tunnel. I'm so tired. Lu Ming sat on the ground, gasping for air. Lu Ming had exhausted all his quintessence to charge through this tunnel. Fortunately, he had clenched his teeth and charged through in the end. Otherwise, he would have vomited blood. This was way too difficult. How could ordinary geniuses pass this test? However, Lu Ming's heart began to look forward to it. The greater the difficulty, the greater the harvest. What treasures would there be in here? Earlier, that puppet had said that there were great treasures in here. Lu Ming's eyes blazed with a fiery light. I should recover my quintessence first. Lu Ming took out a pile of origin stones and started recovering his quintessence. 3 hours later, Lu Ming's quintessence had recovered to its peak, brimming with energy. Following that, Lu Ming stepped forward. Buzz! Before Lu Ming had even walked a few dozen meters, densely packed inscriptions appeared on the ground, forming a large formation. Many flaming flood dragons condensed and pounced at Lu Ming. There is still a test. Is there an end to it? Lu Ming felt so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. He could only clench his fists and continuously attack. Boom! Boom! After several explosions, Lu Ming retreated frantically. This formation is very strong. It is even stronger than that puppet from before. How am I supposed to pass this? Retreating a few steps, Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a grave expression. The flood dragons, condensed by the formation, were too strong. They surpassed the peak of the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Furthermore, this was only one formation that had appeared. There were definitely more formations ahead. This test was truly too difficult. Wait, I don't have to force my way through the formation. I can use the path of inscriptions to break it. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Spirit formations were different from puppets. Those puppets were practically impossible to control, but spirit formations could be broken. Immediately, Lu Ming looked at it carefully. After a while, he waved his hands, and inscriptions appeared, disappearing into the formation. With a bang, the formation collapsed. Lu Ming stepped forward, but in front of him, another formation appeared. Lu Ming continued to inscribe inscriptions to break it. However, at this moment, under his feet, where he had just broken the formation, another formation appeared. Damn, didn't I already break it? Why is there a new one appearing? Lu Ming was depressed. He could only continue to inscribe inscriptions to speed up the cracking. Bang! The formation in front had collapsed, but the formation behind had attacks coming. Lu Ming could only use all his strength to block the attacks of the formation and break it at the same time. Just as he was breaking, the formation that was broken in front of him appeared again. Lu Ming really wanted to vomit blood. Once the formation was broken, it would condense again. How was he going to deal with it? He had no choice but to grit his teeth and continue to break it. Just like this, Lu Ming blocked and broke it at the same time. This process lasted for a total of 6 hours. Lu Ming was already half dead from exhaustion. His true essence was severely depleted, and even his spiritual fire was almost completely depleted. This won't do. This formation is simply endless. After breaking one, another one will appear. It's impossible to break it all. It's better for me to retreat. Once my true essence is depleted, it will be dangerous. Lu Ming's mind raced. At this time, Lu Ming suddenly realized that the formation that he had just broken did not reappear. Could it be that the energy to activate the formation has been exhausted, and I can't continue to condense the formation? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a look of excitement. Immediately, he continued to break the formation. Sure enough, the formations that he had broken after that did not reappear. Since they did not reappear, it was much easier for Lu Ming. Soon, all the formations were broken by Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped into a secret room. No, I'm exhausted. I'd better rest and recover first. Lu Ming gasped for breath and sat cross-legged. He took out the origin stone and began to adjust his breathing. A few hours later, his true essence was completely recovered. However, his spiritual fire was still very dim. Just now, his spiritual fire was severely depleted and was almost completely depleted. Lu Ming operated the underworld God observation and began to recover his spiritual fire. In this world, not only was the spiritual energy of heaven and earth incomparably rich, but the concept of heaven and earth was also very clear. Even sensing the inscription law was many times easier. Running the spirit cultivation method could easily absorb the inscription power of the inscription law and increase the intensity of the spiritual fire. Half a day later, Lu Ming's spiritual fire became vigorous again and completely recovered. At this time, Lu Ming stood up and looked around the secret room. This time, there were no puppets or formations blocking him. He seemed to have reached the end. Chapter 9:26. Could it be that this is the treasure inside? Lu Ming's eyes sparkled, revealing a look of anticipation. Lu Ming strode forward and observed for a while. After confirming that there was no danger, Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the painting. What kind of treasure is this? Lu Ming looked at it and found that it looked very ordinary. Then he opened the painting. The first thing that entered his eyes was a line of words. Grotto Heaven Treasure, Mountain River Painting. Seeing this line of words, Lu Ming's heart started beating faster, and his breathing became rapid. Grotto Heaven Treasure. It's actually the legendary Grotto Heaven Treasure? Legend had it that Grotto Heaven treasures contained a grotto heaven that formed another world. In other words, Grotto Heaven treasures contained a world with mountains, rivers, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. It was like a small world where living beings could enter and live and cultivate. In the divine wilderness continent, there were only legends of Grotto Heaven treasures, but no one had ever seen one. Even those Emperor Path powerhouses did not have one. Lu Ming hurriedly opened the painting completely. The painting was more than 2 meters long, and a vast painting appeared in front of Lu Ming. A vast mountain range with peaks that towered into the clouds was endless. It was like a real world that came into view. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart stirred, and the Book of Providence appeared in front of him. A line of words appeared on the Book of Providence. Obtained Grotto Heaven Treasure, Mountain River Painting. Luck points increased by 100,000. Lu Ming's heart thumped again. After obtaining the Mountain River Painting, his luck points increased by 100,000. It was simply terrifying. One had to know that Lu Ming had only obtained more than 10,000 luck points in the past 2 months. Then, another line of words appeared on the Book of Providence. Only condensed with blood can it be used. It should be referring to the Mountain River Painting. With a thought, the Book of Providence disappeared. Lu Ming looked at the Mountain River Painting for a while, then forced a few drops of blood from his fingertip and dripped it on the Mountain River Painting. When the blood landed on the Mountain River Painting, it was immediately absorbed by the painting and disappeared. Then Lu Ming injected his true essence and began to refine the Mountain River Painting. All treasures had to be refined before they could be used. The Mountain River Painting was undoubtedly a treasure among treasures. It was very difficult to refine it. For the next half a month, Lu Ming was refining the Mountain River Painting. Moreover, every day, Lu Ming needed to drip a drop of blood and use it as a medium to refine it. Half a month, the Mountain River Painting, emitting a mysterious light was. Slowly, the radiance grew brighter and brighter. In the end, the Mountain River diagram actually shrank rapidly, flew into the area between Lu Ming's eyebrows and disappeared. The Mountain River diagram was finally completely refined and flew into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. With a thought, the Mountain River was the Mountain River Painting. I'll try it. He was the Mountain River, was the mountain is the mountain of the Mountain River, is of the U. There's the Mountain River, was the time of the Mountain River, that was the Mountain River Ming-S. However, Lu Ming's body appeared on top of a mountain peak. Standing at the top of the mountain, Zhang Xian gazed into the distance. What entered his eyes were vast mountains, ancient trees, and the fragrance of flowers wafted into his nostrils. Is this the world inside the Mountain River Painting? It's no different from the real world, and the spirit qi is also rich. Lu Ming discovered that the spirit qi here was also very rich. The Mountain River Painting seemed to be absorbing the spirit qi of the outside world all the time. Let's see how big the border of the Mountain River Painting is. Lu Ming rose into the air, turned into a stream of light, and disappeared in the sky. Not long after, Lu Ming flew to the end. There was chaos in front of him. Obviously, he had reached the border of the mountain river painting. Then, Lu Ming turned around and flew to the other side of the border. After that, Lu Ming made a big circle in the mountain river painting. East, west, north, and south, it's about 100,000 miles away. Lu Ming whispered with a hint of excitement in his eyes. This area was naturally incomparable to the vast, divine wilderness continent. It was like a grain of sand, but Lu Ming was already very happy. This was because he carried this world with him everywhere. Moreover, the area was not small. It was even larger than the Burning Sun Empire. There was also spirit chi here, and he could also comprehend the will of heaven and earth. He could also sense the inscription laws. Such a treasure was simply a creation of heaven and earth. In the past, Supreme Nine Suns Temple of Paragon also had an internal space that people could enter. However, it was very small, and the area was very limited. There was no spirit chi of heaven and earth, and he could not sense the will of heaven and earth or the inscription laws. Compared to the mountain river painting, it was many times worse. This was a peerless treasure. In a battle of karmic luck, there were indeed great fortunes and opportunities. No wonder all the geniuses were willing to risk their lives to participate in the battle of providence. However, other than plants, there are no other living creatures, demonic beasts, ordinary beasts, or spiritual herbs. I still need to slowly replenish them later. Lu Ming thought to himself, let's pluck some spiritual herbs first. Lu Ming smiled. With a wave of his hand, a large amount of spiritual herbs appeared. There were low-grade and high-grade spiritual herbs. Lu Ming's figure flickered as he planted spiritual herbs on the nearby mountain peaks. 3 days later, Lu Ming planted thousands of spirit herbs on various mountain peaks and mountain ranges. Of course, for a distance of 100,000 miles, thousands of spirit herbs were just a drop in the ocean. Forget it. I'll slowly do it in the future. I've spent enough time here. Let's go somewhere else. I wonder how the other disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect are doing? With a thought, Lu Ming exited the mountain river painting. The mountain river painting glowed and disappeared into Lu Ming's glabella. Then Lu Ming walked out. When he exited, there were no obstructions and he passed through easily. After a while, Lu Ming came out of the place and arrived outside the palace. He continued to walk in the small alley among the palaces. Next, he entered a few more palaces, but he didn't find anything. The palaces were empty. Half a day later, Lu Ming obtained a few bottles of pills in a side hall that seemed to be an alchemy room. The spirit congealing pill was a pill that could nourish the mind and condense the spirit fire. Lu Ming was delighted. Previously, he was forced to break through to the 7th rank due to the situation. His spirit fire was somewhat unstable, and there were side effects that required a large amount of time to recover. However, with the spirit congealing pill, he could recover in a short period of time without leaving behind any side effects. It seemed like this place was specially designed to test inscriptionists. Lu Ming speculated. Lu Ming continued to walk forward. Suddenly, the sound of fighting came from the front. There were people fighting. Lu Ming hurriedly ran forward. In front, 2 disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect were fleeing in panic. Behind them, a youth covered in dense demonic aura was chasing them. It was the little demon lord. He was chasing 2 disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. You can't escape. Everyone from the Talisman Puppet sect should die. The little demon lord's killing intent burst forth. He took a large step forward and a black blade light slashed towards one of the Talisman Puppet sect disciples. The 2 disciples took out their puppets and inscription talismans to block, but it was useless. They were directly split apart by the little demon lord's blade. Pucci, the blade light, slashed down, and a Talisman Puppet sect disciple was split into 2. Little demon lord, Lu Ming Zongzi won't let you off. Chapter 9:27. Whoosh! Little Devil Lord's figure flashed as he chased after the Talisman Puppet Sect disciple. With a claw, he destroyed all of the Talisman Puppet Sect disciple's attacks. Then he grabbed the Talisman Puppet Sect disciple's throat and lifted him high into the air. Lu Ming, I'm telling you, don't let me touch him. Otherwise, I'll make sure he dies a horrible death. Little Demon Lord's face was extremely ferocious. He hated Lu Ming to the core. You'd better let him go. Otherwise, I guarantee that you'll be the one who dies a horrible death. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out as Lu Ming walked out from an alley. Lu Ming Zongzi. The Talisman Puppet Sect disciple revealed a joyful expression. Little Demon Lord spat out the two words one by one. His voice was incomparably cold. He was a little surprised. He didn't expect to bump into Lu Ming just as he was talking about him. Lu Ming's gaze swept across. When he saw the Talisman Puppet Sect disciple being killed, his eyes revealed a trace of gloominess. Lu Ming, aren't you going to save him? Let's see how you're going to save him. Hee hee. Little Demon Lord sneered. He suddenly exerted strength in his hand, and with a crack, he crushed the Talisman Puppet Sect disciple to death. Boom! A berserk aura exploded from Lu Ming's body. A cold killing intent burst out and enveloped Little Demon Lord. Luoli, you'll die today. Lu Ming's eyes were incomparably cold. He looked at Little Demon Lord as if he was looking at a dead man. Lu Ming, don't think that you can kill me. I didn't use my full strength last time. It's still unknown who will emerge victorious. A powerful aura also exploded from Little Demon Lord's body. A black demonic aura soared into the sky. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming strode forward. The 5 dragon energies in his body erupted at the same time. The surface of his body was covered with a thick layer of scales. Kill! The word kill was spat out like thunder. Lu Ming struck out with his palm, causing the space to tremble. 9 deaths, demonic saber. A pitch-black saber appeared in Little Demon Lord's hand. A sharp saber light burst out. Boom! With a massive explosion, the Little Demon Lord's body shook and he staggered backwards. How can his strength be so terrifying? The Little Demon Lord's face revealed a trace of shock. The last time he fought with Lu Ming did not explode with the power of 5 dragons. Die! Lu Ming took a large step forward. An explosive force blasted out. His palm was like an ancient divine mountain, containing boundless strength as it chopped down at the Little Demon Lord. I don't believe it. The Little Demon Lord roared. He stretched out his hand and pointed at his chest. Suddenly, a deep roar came from his mouth. Then, the Little Demon Lord's body began to swell. From his arms and shoulders, malevolent bone spikes protruded out. His aura also soared. Lu Ming, die! Little Demon King roared. Like a demonic creature, he strode toward Lu Ming. With a wave of his hand, those bone spurs pierced through the air, emitting a sharp whistling sound as they pierced toward Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! True essence roared within his body, for different concepts lingered around him. Lu Ming used his palm to revolve the suppressing hell-heaven art, constantly bombarding the Little Demon Lord. The two of them were like a monster and a demon. They used a very direct method to constantly bombard each other. The entire area violently shook. The surrounding palaces all heard it. Someone is fighting. Come, let's go take a look. A tall and sturdy youth was exploring a palace. When he heard the commotion, he rushed over to the source of it. There were also others who heard the commotion but didn't dare to rush over. This was because the commotion was too shocking and far surpassed their strength. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and the Little Demon Lord had exchanged several dozen moves. Gradually, the Little Demon Lord fell into a disadvantage, and Lu Ming gained the upper hand. Pum! Lu Ming's palm struck the Little Demon Lord's shoulder, breaking the bone spikes and causing a massive wound to appear. The little demon lord angrily roared. Roar. At this time, there was a loud roar, and a tall and sturdy youth appeared. His eyes were ominous, and he bared his fangs. Brother Jean, let's work together and kill Lu Ming. Seeing this youth, the little demon lord was overjoyed. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. The tall and sturdy youth revealed a sinister smile. In the next moment, he transformed into a giant tiger and pounced at Lu Ming. This was the powerful genius of the Sky Monster Valley. He possessed 50% of a god-beast's bloodline, and his combat strength was incomparably terrifying. Lu Ming die. The little demon lord's eyes revealed a sinister light. A hideous creature appeared above his head. This was a demonic creature with a dense demonic aura. It had a wide mouth and sharp fangs, and its entire body was covered in bone spikes. Around the demonic creature, 5 golden chakras shined. This was the little demon lord's bloodline, a 5th-grade divine realm bloodline. The little demon lord turned into a beam of light that fused into his bloodline. He completely transformed into a demonic creature. Demonic aura surged as he charged at Lu Ming. The ones to die are you! Lu Ming shouted. The 9 dragons' bloodline appeared and turned into 9 dragons. A vast dragon might spread out. This is... The golden tiger was shocked and felt a little scared. The true dragon was the leader of all beasts. There were not many species that could stand shoulder to shoulder with it. Other god beasts would instinctively feel awe when facing the true dragon, let alone the 9 dragons. The golden tiger was shocked. The 9 dragons' claws slashed down and sent the golden tiger flying. Then another claw struck out and clashed with the little demon lord, causing him to stagger back. Roar! At this time, the golden tiger was roused. It roared and pounced at Lu Ming. The 9 dragons' bloodline. This is the legendary 9 dragons. You actually awakened the 9 dragons' bloodline. Hand it over. The golden tiger roared, its eyes full of greed. The 9 dragons were a higher-level existence than the true dragon. If it could deprive Lu Ming of the 9 dragons' bloodline, even if it couldn't use it, it would be able to offer it to the supreme of the Flood Dragon tribe. It would definitely receive an amazing reward. At the same time, the little demon lord also rushed at Lu Ming. 9 dragons trampling the sky. The 9 dragon claws stepped on the void as though they were the real 9 dragons stepping on the sky, surveying the world and ruling the world. A terrifying dragon might spread out. Under the 9 claws, a vast power exploded. Lu Ming had cultivated the 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps to the 6th step. It was equivalent to the highest level of upper-grade half-god level martial arts. However, after transforming into the 9 dragons and executing it, the power was even more terrifying. Boom! Boom! 2 shocking sounds rang out. The little demon lord and the golden tiger were sent flying by Lu Ming. Turbulent energy spread out in all directions. However, it was unknown if the palace was set up with an inscription formation or if it was made of special materials. But it was sturdy and indestructible. The powerful energy that could pierce through the earth didn't leave a single mark on it. How can he be so strong? The little demon lord cried out in disbelief. He and the golden tiger were both at the 4th level of spirit embryo realm, 2 whole levels higher than Lu Ming. How was it possible for them to be at a disadvantage even after working together? Kill! The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and pounced at the little demon lord. Boom! With a claw, the little demon lord spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Over a dozen of the malevolent bone spikes on his body were broken. Join hands! Join hands! The little demon lord roared, slightly panicking. He was no match for Lu Ming alone. On the other side, the golden tiger was slightly frightened. However, it still let out an angry roar and pounced at Lu Ming. At this moment, a picture scroll flew out from the heart of the 9 dragons' brows. Chapter 928. The mountain river diagram glowed and expanded rapidly, wrapping around the golden tiger. The golden tiger roared and struggled, but the mountain river diagram glowed, and it could not break free. It really works. Lu Ming was delighted. This was a temporary use that he had thought of. The mountain river diagram was a grotto heaven treasure that contained a world. Naturally, it was sturdy and indestructible. If the golden tiger was entangled, it should not be able to break free. Sure enough, the effect was very good. The golden tiger was trapped. Luoli, let's see who can help you now. The 9 dragons' eyes emitted a ferocious light as they pounced on the little demon lord, using the 9 dragons' heaven stomp. Bam! Bam! The little demon lord was no match for it and kept retreating. The bone spurs on his body were broken, his flesh and blood splattered, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Go, go! The little demon lord was scared and wanted to escape, but the 9 dragons had completely blocked his escape route. How could he escape? Pucci! Then the little demon lord screamed as one of his arms was torn off by the 9 dragons. The huge demonic creature shrank rapidly and turned back into the little demon lord. At this time his face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. Die! The huge dragon claw grabbed at the little demon lord. No, no, Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My big brother is the demon lord Luo Tian, 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. If you kill me, my big brother won't let you go. The little demon lord shouted as he desperately tried to resist. Ridiculous. Weren't you very arrogant before? Now that you've lost, you bring up your big brother. What a good-for-nothing. Lu Ming scolded coldly. The dragon claw did not stop. Bam! The little demon lord screamed as a huge wound appeared on his body. Blood flowed out, and his aura became even weaker. On the other side, the golden tiger roared and emitted a bright golden light. Unfortunately, it was useless as it could not break through the mountain river diagram. Chi, the dragon claw, continued to descend and slammed into the little demon lord's chest, sending him flying into the wall of a palace. The palace did not move, but the little demon lord's entire body crackled with the sound of bones breaking. He then fell to the ground, unable to move like a dead fish. Lu Ming transformed into his human form and stepped forward, stepping on the little demon monarch's face. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he pressed it against the little demon monarch's heart. No, no, don't kill me. The little demon lord was incomparably terrified. His entire body went cold as he felt the god of death approach. He had never been so scared before. Ever since he was young, he had been the pride of the heavens. His elder brother, Luo Tian, was even more terrifyingly talented. He was almost invincible. They had been taken into the Di Tian Imperial Guard since they were young and had been nurtured meticulously. He had never been so close to death before. He had never been so afraid before. He had always been the one killing others. When had others ever been able to kill him? Those who ranked higher than him on the list of top 1,000 talents had to give him face because his elder brother was Luo Tian. But now, Lu Ming's murderous intent was incomparably cold. He was completely unafraid that his elder brother would kill him. If I don't kill you, why didn't you consider letting my talisman puppet sect disciples go when you killed them? Lu Ming sneered and looked down at the little demon monarch. The little demon monarch was speechless. In his heart, those talisman puppet sect disciples were all trash. How could they compare to him? But how could he say such a thing out loud? Lu Ming, my elder brother Luo Tian, is invincible and ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. His combat strength is far beyond your imagination. No matter how talented you are no match for my elder brother. You'd better let me go. Otherwise, no one will be able to save you. The little demon monarch continued to use his elder brother, hoping to deter Lu Ming. Bam! Lu Ming stomped hard on the little demon king's face. The little demon king's face slammed hard on the ground. A few of his teeth fell out and blood flowed from his mouth. Ridiculous. No matter how strong Luo Tian is, he's only ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Not counting the demon clan, there are 9 humans who are stronger than him. How can he be invincible? Also, is your elder brother comparable to D.E.? Even D.E. wants to catch me, but I'm still fine. What do you mean no one will be able to save me? If your elder brother comes, I'll kill him. Lu Ming sneered, and his killing intent intensified. Lu Ming, stop. At this moment, a figure appeared in a small alley. It was Brother Li Tian. Ah, Brother Li Tian, save me, save me. Seeing Brother Li Tian, the little demon monarch screamed desperately. It doesn't matter who you call. Die. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Ming thrust his long spear and pierced the little demon monarch's heart. The little demon monarch let out a hysterical scream. His eyes bulged, filled with unwillingness and resentment. Bam! The long spear shook and vital essence exploded, crushing the little demon monarch's heart. The little demon monarch died. At the entrance of the alley, Brother Li Tian's expression was ugly. He turned around and left. In a flash, he disappeared into the alley. Brother Li Tian was very clear that his combat strength was at most a little higher than the little demon monarch's. If they fought, he was most likely not a match for Lu Ming, so he simply left. Lu Ming glanced in the direction Brother Li Tian left and didn't chase. Instead, he waved his hand and put away the little demon monarch's storage ring. Then he walked towards the golden tiger. Ah, don't kill me! The golden tiger screamed in horror and struggled with all its might. Seeing the little demon monarch being killed in front of him, he was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Boom! Lu Ming clenched his fist and punched the golden tiger's head. Bam! The golden tiger couldn't resist and was heavily punched. It immediately felt dizzy and felt that its head was about to shatter. Stars appeared in its eyes. Nest, this tiger's head is too hard. It didn't die after a punch. Lu Ming was also startled. He was well aware of how terrifying his punch was, but the fact that it didn't shatter the tiger's head surprised Lu Ming. No, don't kill me. I admit defeat. I surrender. I recognize you as my big brother. I beg you, please let me go. The golden tiger shook its head and began to loudly beg for mercy. Its cries were incomparably miserable. Lu Ming, I'm begging you. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. I'm begging you. Please spare me. From now on, you're my elder brother. I'll definitely be grateful to you. The ferocious golden tiger continued to roar. Lu Ming was stunned. This golden tiger was also a weirdo. Nonsense. I see that your yang energy is abundant. You clearly haven't lost your virginity. So where did this 3-year-old child come from? Lu Ming's eyes turned and he reprimanded. That's a child I picked up from a barren mountain. Every word is true. The golden tiger's eyes turned and he continued to talk nonsense. All right, don't talk nonsense in front of me. You can surrender if you want, but relax your mind. I want to engrave a formation in your mind. Otherwise, I won't be at ease and will have to kill you. You contain 50% of the divine beast's bloodline. The tiger's penis is also a great tonic. Having said that, Lu Ming stole a few glances behind the golden tiger. The golden tiger felt cold all over and couldn't help but clamp its hind legs together. Engrave the formation. The golden tiger hesitated. He knew very well that if the formation was engraved, he would truly become Lu Ming's slave. Chapter 929. He had 50% of the bloodline of a divine beast, and he had a bright future ahead of him. He did not want to die just like that. At the thought of being killed by Lu Ming and becoming his food, he felt chills all over his body. As for his backbone, he had lived for so long and didn't know what it was. Saving his life was the most important thing in his heart. Therefore, he only pondered for a moment before nodding repeatedly. Okay, I agree. Carve the formation, and you'll be my big brother in the future. After saying that, there was a pitiful look in his eyes. However, he was burly, had a wide mouth, and was filled with a ferocious aura. How could he look pitiful at all? Relax your mind and don't resist at all. After saying that, Lu Ming began to carve the formation, the soul-splitting formation. Lu Ming had once used this formation to control Wang Haoxin. Soon the formation was formed and sank into the head of the golden tiger. Soul-splitting formation. As long as I use my mind, your soul will be torn apart. If it's light, you'll become an idiot. If it's heavy, you'll die on the spot. Do you want to try its effect? Lu Ming put away the mountain river diagram and looked at the golden tiger. The golden tiger's eyes rolled and he said, "No need, no need. You're an expert of the talisman puppet sect and proficient in the Tao of inscription. I naturally believe in you. Big brother, you'll be my big brother in the future." The golden tiger transformed into a human. He was a burly young man with strong muscles all over his body. His arms were thicker than Lu Ming's thighs. "Get lost, who's your big brother?" Lu Ming berated. Okay, not big brother, but boss. You're my boss." The golden tiger immediately nodded and bowed. Lu Ming's expression became better, and he said, "What's your name?" "I'm called King Kong. How about it? Isn't this name mighty?" As he spoke, the muscles on King Kong's body kept twitching. "Ah, mighty, indeed mighty. You'd better transform into your beast form and be my mount for this period of time," Lu Ming instructed. "Be your mount?" King Kong widened his eyes and revealed a ferocious expression. Who was he? He was a demon prodigy with 50% divine beast bloodline. Thousands of demons would bow down to him. Now Lu Ming was asking him to be his mount? His anger soared to the sky. "What? You want to test the power of the soul-splitting array?" Lu Ming looked at King Kong with an unfriendly gaze. Jean Gang immediately admitted defeat and lost all of his imposing manner. He grinned and said, "No, how can that be? It's my honor to be able to become your mount." With that, he transformed into a ferocious golden tiger. He was 3 meters tall and 6 meters long. His entire body was covered in golden hair without any impurities. His hair was as smooth and soft as silk. Needless to say, this fellow's appearance was not bad. Although King Kong looked honest on the surface, he was cursing in his heart. I'll endure it for now. When the Battle of Providence is over, I'll go out and find a way to crack that array. I'll definitely cut this brat into pieces to relieve my heartache." Thinking of this, King Kong's eyes revealed a trace of ferocity. This fellow seems to be honest on the surface. If I don't teach him a lesson, he might stab me in the back. Lu Ming's lips curled into a sneer. Suddenly, with a thought, the power of the soul-splitting array erupted. King Kong screamed and let out an earth-shattering roar, rolling on the ground. "What's going on? What's going on? Why am I suddenly in so much pain? It hurts, it hurts." King Kong kept roaring and rolling on the ground. After a while, Lu Ming stopped controlling the soul-splitting array. King Kong lay on the ground weakly with his tongue hanging out, looking exhausted. "Oh, I'm sorry. I accidentally triggered the soul-splitting array that I engraved in your mind. Are you all right?" Lu Ming pretended to be surprised. "Was it you just now?" King Kong looked at Lu Ming with incomparable resentment. "I'm sorry, it was an accident. Speaking of which, did I activate the soul-splitting array because you were cursing me in your heart just now?" Lu Ming looked at King Kong with a faint smile. King Kong wailed in his heart. He finally knew the power of the soul-splitting array. This time he was extremely honest and shouted, Boss, I'm innocent. From now on, I'll be loyal to you." "Well, that's more like it." Lu Ming patted King Kong's huge head. King Kong's combat strength was not bad. It would be helpful to him if he kept it. "Let's go and have a look elsewhere." With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming took the lead and stepped out. Buzz! They had not taken a few steps when suddenly an invisible wave came from the depths of the palace. At the same time, the entire palace complex trembled slightly. Buzz! Buzz! Then the wave became more and more intense, and the nearby palace complex trembled more and more violently. "It's inside. Let's go." Lu Ming and King Kong rushed towards the depths of the palace. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a palace in the distance, emitting endless golden light. Vast mind power formed a mind storm that swept in all directions. A boundless, majestic aura filled the air. In the next moment, a figure appeared from the palace and sat cross-legged on top of the palace. The boundless golden light was being emitted from that figure. Qi Shui. Seeing this figure, Lu Ming was shocked. This figure was by Qi Shui. That golden light is so terrifying. This is the golden spiritual fire, the spiritual fire of an Emperor Realm expert. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. He had received Liao Cang's inheritance and could tell that the spiritual fire emitted from Bai Qi Shui was the spiritual fire of a level 9 inscription master, an Emperor Realm expert. Bai Qi Shui had received the inheritance of a level 9 inscription master. While Lu Ming was shocked, he was also happy for Bai Qi Shui. He did not expect Bai Qi Shui to have such an opportunity to receive the inheritance of a level 9 inscription master. Buzz! Buzz! Golden light filled the air and the palace shook. Inscriptions appeared on the countless palaces, but they collapsed one by one and disappeared without a trace. It seemed that Bai Qi Shui had received the inheritance, and it affected the arrays. A disciple of the Talisman Puppet sect can forget about receiving the inheritance. With a furious roar, a blood-red sword light slashed towards Bai Qi Shui. Lu Ming was shocked and flew into the air. Previously, there were arrays everywhere in the palace, and it was difficult to fly. Now that the arrays had collapsed, it was no longer a problem. However, although Lu Ming was fast, it was too late. However, when the blood-red sword light was about to hit Bai Qi Shui, a sword light shot out from Bai Qi Shui's body and blocked the blood-red sword light. Blood Sword 7, you're courting death. Lu Ming was furious. He stepped into the air and instantly approached Bai Qi Shui. His palm was like a heavenly blade as it slashed towards a blood-robed youth. The one who had attacked was the genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect, Blood Sword 7. Lu Ming. Blood Sword 7's eyes narrowed when he saw Lu Ming. He waved his blood-red sword and the smell of blood filled the air. The blood-red sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Bam! The blood-red light collapsed and Lu Ming's body trembled. He felt his arm go numb. Blood Sword 7's battle strength was above the little demon lord's. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, figures flashed in the surrounding palaces. There were disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect and the other 3 forces. Disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect, gather! Chapter 930. Take down the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. A youth in a crimson robe shouted. It was Blood Sword 9. King Kong, go and help. Lu Ming shouted. All right, Blood Sword 9, I'm your opponent. King Kong roared and pounced on Blood Sword 9, engaging in a fierce battle with him. King Kong, are you crazy? Our opponent is Lu Ming. Blood Sword 9 roared. How dare you fight with my boss? I'll cripple you. King Kong roared as he clawed at Blood Sword 9 with his claws. No matter how hard Blood Sword 9 tried, he couldn't break through. Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the others were shocked. The prodigy of the demon clan, King Kong, actually addressed Lu Ming as boss and submitted to him. What was happening? Go to hell. Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons and clawed at Blood Sword 7. Blood Sword 7's body glowed with a crimson golden light and slashed at Lu Ming. The 2 fought fiercely, causing explosions. Lu Ming saw Brother Blazing Heaven and another prodigy of the demon race, the green-robed man. King Kong, what's the meaning of this? The youth in a green robe charged at King Kong. What do you mean? Get out of my face! King Kong roared. Swish! At this moment, the mountain river painting flew out of Lu Ming's forehead and wrapped around Blood Sword 7. Blood Sword 7 was startled. Instinctively, he felt that this picture scroll was very dangerous. He quickly retreated, and at the same time, he slashed out beams of sword light cutting the picture in half. The 9 dragons twisted their bodies and used the 9 dragon sky stomping steps to push Blood Sword 7 back. Die. Lu Ming surrounded himself with the mountain river diagram, blocking the vital points. He then ignored the defense and launched a violent attack on the 7th blood sword. The 7th blood sword struck back, but the mountain river diagram did not even budge an inch. Bam! Blood Sword 7 was shocked as he was hit by the 9 dragons. He spat out a mouthful of blood and quickly retreated. He didn't dare to stay any longer. His body flashed as he rushed toward Blood Sword 9 and joined up with him. Lu Ming stepped on the void and arrived beside Kong Kim. The two sides were in a standoff. Far off in the distance, Brother Blazing Heaven stood there, not taking any action. He had personally seen Lu Ming kill the little demon monarch and subdue the Vajra. In his eyes, Lu Ming was simply unfathomable. Vajra, you dare to betray the Yao race and help Lu Ming. Do you want to die? The green-robed monster youth coldly shouted. What are you shouting for? I'm alone in the demon race. What's there to be afraid of? Right now, I'm relying on Lu Ming. What's wrong with that? King Kong opened his mouth wide and looked at the green-robed youth with disdain. You! The green-robed young man's face turned ashen. You're courting death. Lu Ming suddenly roared. Not far away, a genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect was about to make a move and kill a talisman puppet sect disciple that was flying over. A long spear appeared. It instantly traversed the void and killed the genius of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Whoever dares to kill a disciple of the Talisman Puppet sect will die. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept across the entire area. Lu Ming, you're courting death. Blood Sword 9 shouted. Is that so? Let's see who will die. Lu Ming took a big step forward and charged towards Blood Sword 9. Blood Sword 9 launched an attack, but just like Blood Sword 7, Lu Ming didn't care about defense and launched a fierce attack. Blood Sword 9 spat out mouthfuls of blood and had no choice but to turn around and flee. Blood Sword 7 and Blood Sword 9's faces turned ugly. They didn't dare to fight with Lu Ming. The green-robed monster youth was also fearful when he saw this and distanced himself from Lu Ming. If any of you want to die, I don't mind sending you on your way. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept across the entire area. The geniuses of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Sky Demon Valley all stayed far away. They were extremely fearful, and none of them dared to stop the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect. Soon, the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect gathered around Lu Ming. Compared to before, there were 5 or 6 people less. Obviously, these people had already fallen. Lu Ming's gaze turned sinister as he pondered on how to kill all the geniuses of the 3 forces. Buzz! At this moment, Bai Chi Snow's inheritance seemed to have reached a critical moment. The energy waves emitted from her body became stronger and stronger. The golden light spread far and wide. From afar, one could see that the surroundings of the palaces were filled with arrays. At this moment, those arrays glowed and collapsed one by one. This place had become an ordinary place, and the great formation had disappeared. Everyone in the surroundings looked on from afar. The people of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Sky Demon Valley were indignant and wanted to destroy it. However, with Lu Ming and King Kong watching, they didn't dare to do anything. After a while, the energy waves emitted from Bai Chi Snow's body weakened, and the golden light slowly retracted. When the golden light completely retracted, Bai Chi Snow opened her eyes. Everyone's gaze fell on Bai Chi Snow. Bai Chi Snow didn't seem to know anything and was a little confused. She looked around and seemed to have thought of something as she hurriedly stood up. Chi Shui, how is it? Lu Ming moved and came to Bai Chi Snow's side. Fortunately, I seem to have obtained the inheritance of a senior. Bai Chi Snow blinked her eyes and seemed to be a little confused. This made Lu Ming speechless. Bai Chi Snow had obtained the inheritance of a level 9 inscription master. How could she not know? There seems to be a lot of things in my head, and I need to digest them. Bai Chi Snow said again. Lu Ming nodded. That was indeed the case. Just like when he obtained Liao Tsang's inheritance, it was impossible to increase his battle strength immediately. He needed time to comprehend it, and it would be very helpful for his future cultivation. The other disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect looked at Bai Chi Snow with envy. After obtaining the inheritance of a level 9 inscription master, Bai Chi Snow was destined to rise in the future. As for the geniuses of the other 3 forces, their eyes flashed with killing intent. Bai Chi Snow had obtained the inheritance of a sovereign, and this wasn't a good thing for the other 3 forces. In the future, she would rise and would be on the opposite side of the other 3 forces. Rumble. At this moment, a violent explosion could be heard from afar. The sound came from outside the palace. The earth rumbled as if 10,000 horses were galloping. Even the void started to shake violently. Following this, several powerful auras soared into the sky like smoke signals. What's going on? Everyone at the scene was shocked. Swoosh! Swoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. It was the people of the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace outside the array. Now that the array had collapsed, they naturally couldn't stop them. Three-Eyed Divine Tribe. It's the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe. After those people flew over, their faces were filled with panic. The other people's faces also changed drastically. Soon after, they saw tall and sturdy Three-Eyed Divine Tribe members on the ground and in the void. They were riding on huge demonic beasts and were rushing over. Those demonic beasts were similar to the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe members. They were covered in scales and had 2 long horns. They were like huge water buffaloes. They were surrounded by the Three-Eyed Divine Tribe members. These Three-Eyed Divine Tribe members have been eyeing this ruin for a long time. They probably wanted to kill us outside, and once the array collapsed, they would rush out. Chapter 931. Some of their auras were extremely dense and gave off immense pressure. Not only were there those at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, but there were even stronger ones. Rumble. The mounts of the Three-Eyed God race stepped on the void, causing the void to tremble with shocking killing intent. Human brats, how dare you target my race? Today you will be buried here. A thunderous voice came from the Three-Eyed God race, causing everyone's eardrums to buzz. What should we do? Someone was terrified. There were too many Three-Eyed God race, and there were too many experts. It was impossible for them to charge out. Were they going to die here today? Brother Blazing Heaven, Blood Sword 7, Blood Sword 9, and the prodigies of the demon race all had ugly expressions. It can't be right. Am I going to die here today? King Kong looked into the distance with fear in his eyes. Don't resist. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at Bai Chi, Shui, and the rest. Ah. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Lu Ming waved his hand, and the mountain and river diagram flew towards the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. Remember, don't resist. After saying that, the mountain and river diagram shone and swept the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect into the mountain and river diagram. This is a spatial treasure? King Kong's eyes almost popped out. The others also looked at Lu Ming with greedy looks. Kill. Leave no one alive. The most majestic Three-Eyed God race waved his hand, and instantly a group of Three-Eyed God race rode their buffalo-like mounts and charged towards Lu Ming and the rest. There were about 200 of them, and each of them gave off a terrifying aura. The pressure on their bodies was like a tidal wave that surged towards them. Every one of them was an expert at the spirit embryo realm and above. What should we do? What should we do? A prodigy of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace shouted in fear. There was no way to retreat because there were experts of the Three-Eyed God race in all directions. They were already surrounded, and wherever they retreated, there would be experts. Kill! In an instant, there were already experts charging over. Kill! Brother, blazing heaven, and the rest roared. In such a situation they could only fight. Human brat, die! A tall and sturdy, three-eyed god race member wielding a battle axe charged towards Lu Ming on his mount, chopping down on Lu Ming's head. This was a three-eyed god at the 5th level of spirit embryo realm. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward. His fist was like a divine mountain as it crushed down on the three-eyed divine race. This three-eyed divine race member was directly punched through by Lu Ming, dying on the spot. Devouring power burst out and devoured the blood essence of the three-eyed divine being. You're courting death. The other three-eyed divine tribe member saw this and pulled on his mount. Stepping into the void, he charged towards Lu Ming. There were a total of 3 people, and they were all at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm. A long spear, and an iron hammer. These 3 weapons bombarded Lu Ming. Boss, let me help you. Vajra roared and rushed towards a three-eyed divine race member wielding a long spear. Grabbing out with his claws, he dispersed the opponent's attack. The expression of the three-eyed divine race member with a long spear changed drastically, and a beam of light shot out from his third eye. His mount also roared, and its 2 sharp horns charged towards Vajra. These three-eyed divine race members were not on the same level as the ones Lu Ming had met before. These three-eyed divine race members were even stronger and were obviously the elites of the three-eyed divine race. Together with their mounts, their abilities were even stronger. At the same time, the other 2 three-eyed divine race members also charged towards Vajra. Lu Ming took a step forward, and the power of 9 dragons, heaven-trampling, steps burst forth. The power of Peng bombarded the 2 three-eyed divine race members. The 2 three-eyed divine race members and their mounts trembled violently as they vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Die! Lu Ming burst forth with the power of 5 dragons, and his strength increased greatly. His figure flashed as he rushed towards the other party. Bang! Bang! 2 consecutive palms landed on the bodies of the 2 three-eyed divine race members and split them into pieces. Even their mounts were killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the three-eyed divine race member with a long spear had also been killed by Vajra. The commotion on their side attracted the attention of the other three-eyed divine race members. A few extremely tall and sturdy three-eyed divine race members looked coldly at Lu Ming and Vajra, courting death. A cold voice was spat out as their mounts stepped into the air. The three-eyed divine race members commanded their mounts to charge towards Lu Ming and Vajra. Then let's kill to our heart's content. Lu Ming's gaze was cold as he transformed into 9 dragons and rushed towards the three-eyed divine race members with Vajra. Roar! The 9 dragons opened their mouths and gave a long roar as a terrifying devouring power burst forth. Some of the three-eyed divine race members who were at the 1st and 2nd level of spirit embryo realm couldn't control their bodies at all. They felt the blood essence and power in their bodies being devoured by the 9 dragons. They screamed in fear as they looked at their own life force flowing away. Even those three-eyed divine race members who were at the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm and above were also incomparably terrified. They were enveloped by the devouring power, and their auras fluctuated. The blood essence in their bodies seemed to want to break out of their bodies. Boom! 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 What welcomed them next was Lu Ming's 9 dragons, heaven-trampling steps. The terrifying power bombarded their bodies, and those who were at the 5th level of spirit embryo realm and below exploded as their blood essence and power were devoured by the 9 dragons. Those who were at the 5th level of spirit embryo realm and above also vomited large mouthfuls of blood as they retreated in a hurry. Lu Ming's 9 dragons' heaven-trampling steps, combined with the devouring power, was simply a large area killing weapon. Kill! Let's work together and kill him! Some of the three-eyed divine race members who were at the 6th and 7th level of spirit embryo realm roared in anger as they charged towards Lu Ming. Vajra, enter the mountain river diagram. The mountain river diagram fluttered and coiled around Vajra. Vajra's expression changed, and he relaxed his body and mind. Instantly, a force pulled Vajra into the mountain river diagram. Immediately after, the mountain river diagram surrounded the 9 dragons. Lu Ming completely ignored his defense and rushed towards the 3-eyed divine race members. The 9 dragon claws clawed out continuously. Uft, uft. 2 3-eyed divine race members who were at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm were killed consecutively. Bang, bang. In all directions, the attacks of the 3-eyed divine race landed on the mountain river diagram. The mountain river diagram trembled slightly but was blocked. Kill! Lu Ming gave a loud shout and rushed towards a 3-eyed divine race member who was at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. With a claw, he pierced through the heart of this 3-eyed divine race member. The devouring power continued to burst forth and devoured this 3-eyed divine race member. Boom! A pitch-black iron hammer smashed heavily on the mountain river diagram, causing the mountain river diagram to tremble. Another 3-eyed divine race member, who was at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, held onto an iron hammer and looked at Lu Ming in astonishment. Concept of earth die. A look of greed appeared in Lu Ming's eyes. This 3-eyed divine race member, who was at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, cultivated the concept of earth. Lu Ming had to kill him. Lu Ming pounced towards the other party, and the other party retreated in fear. Die. Human die. A long spear and a battle knife slashed heavily on the mountain river diagram, causing it to tremble violently. Waves of power passed through the mountain river diagram and landed on Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and neutralized this wave of power. It seems that the defense of the mountain and river diagram changes according to my cultivation. My current cultivation is still low, and the defensive ability of the mountain and river diagram is not very high. If an opponent is much stronger than me, I won't be able to withstand it. Chapter 932. The 2 3-eyed gods were only at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm, but they were able to penetrate the mountain river diagram and hit Lu Ming. Of course, they were weakened by the mountain river diagram and couldn't hurt Lu Ming. However, if they were stronger, such as those at the 9th level of spirit embryo realm, they could hurt Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. He ignored the attacks of the 2 3-eyed gods at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm and pounced on the one at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm. 9 dragon claws were executing the hell-suppressing celestial skill and attacking the other party. Bam! The other party blocked with a huge hammer, but it was useless. The hammer was sent flying by Lu Ming. The dragon claws clawed the other party's body, and the other party roared and flew 100 meters away. He spat out blood, but he didn't die. The defense of the realm of earth is strong, but you still have to die. The dragon claws stepped on the air, and with a twist of his body, he appeared in front of the other party and clawed again. Pucci! This claw penetrated the other party and killed him. His blood essence and energy were all devoured by Lu Ming. While Lu Ming was on a killing spree, screams came from other directions. The geniuses of Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Heavenly Corpse Sect, and Sky Demon Valley were killed one by one. Some of them were famous geniuses in the outside world, and some were even god-level geniuses. But now they were killed mercilessly. Lu Ming saw that Blood Sword 9, with his blood-colored sword light, was filled with blood aura. He killed a 3-eyed god at the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm, but his head was chopped off by a strong practitioner at the 8th level. This genius, who was ranked 63rd on the list of top 1,000 geniuses, had fallen. Go, retreat. Go to those palaces. Brother Blazing Heaven and Blood Sword 7 roared and rushed out of the encirclement towards the palaces. There were many wonderful things in those palaces that might be able to stop the 3-eyed gods. Swoosh! At this moment, a battle saber slashed through the air and landed on the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram shook violently, and a powerful force surged into the 9 dragons' bodies. It even cut open the 9 dragon scales, leaving a wound. 9th level of spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming was shocked. One of them was at least 6 meters tall and was riding a massive mount. He held a war blade in his hand and looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Kill! He let out a roar as his saber tore through the void and slashed at Lu Ming again. Boom! The mountain and river diagram shook violently as a terrifying saber chi pierced through the mountain and river diagram and landed on the 9 dragons' bodies. Another wound appeared. The 9th level of spirit embryo realm is too strong. Even the mountain river diagram can't block it. Let's retreat first. Lu Ming's mind raced. In spirit embryo realm, the difference between every single level was extremely huge. Only a rare person like him, who cultivated god-level techniques, had 2 god-level bloodlines, and had extremely powerful bloodline martial techniques, would be able to kill an opponent who was 5 levels above him. However, facing someone at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm, Lu Ming was already powerless. On the other hand, someone at the 9th level of spirit embryo realm could easily kill him. Go! Lu Ming's body moved and rushed towards the palaces. The palace he chose was the one where he had obtained the mountain and river diagram. The puppets in that palace would adjust their strength according to their cultivation. Lu Ming believed that the 3-eyed god race wouldn't be able to rush in. Stop him! The strong practitioners of the 9th level of spirit embryo realm let out furious roars. A few of the 3-eyed god race at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm continuously attacked Lu Ming, but they were all blocked by the mountain and river diagram. Scram! Lu Ming charged forward with all his might and broke through the obstructions. He rushed into the palace and transformed into his human form before rushing forward. In front of him, 2 puppets condensed and swept their cold gazes at Lu Ming before moving aside. They seemed to have recognized Lu Ming and didn't stop him. Lu Ming was elated. He dashed over directly. At the back, the rest of the 3-eyed divine clan members rushed over. However, the puppet moved. It transformed into a terrifying attack and charged toward the few 3-eyed divine clan members. Lu Ming heard a scream. It seemed that the 3-eyed divine clan members had been killed. As expected, the puppets here would adjust their strength according to the cultivation of the person who entered. Lu Ming walked into the secret room below, and just like the previous time, puppets appeared. However, they all swept their gazes at Lu Ming and moved aside. Lu Ming had no obstructions and came to the passage. The puppets on both sides of the passage only took a glance at Lu Ming before standing there motionlessly. Lu Ming had no obstructions and came to the secret room where he had obtained the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Lu Ming let out a long sigh of relief. This place should be safe. Let's refine the energy first. Immediately, he sat down cross-legged and started refining. This time he had swallowed quite a bit of energy and was refining it continuously. Concept of Earth has broken through and reached the peak of the 2nd level. Lu Ming's heart stirred. At the same time, the energy was being refined continuously and turned into vital essence, which surged into the spirit embryo. In his dantian, the spirit embryo was pulsing as if it was nurturing a life. Following the influx of vital essence and continuous refinement, the size of the spirit embryo was also slowly shrinking. A day later, the aura on Lu Ming's body rose greatly. 3rd level of spirit embryo. After refining the energy, Lu Ming's cultivation reached the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm. The energy I have swallowed this time is just enough for me to break through to the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm. Among them, there are 2 3-eyed god race at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm and 5 or 6 at the 6th level of spirit embryo realm. Only those at the 5th level of spirit embryo realm and below are enough for me to break through to the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm. The energy I need is really a lot. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If he had swallowed one less three-eyed god race at the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, he wouldn't have been able to break through. Among the 4 kinds of conceptions, the concept of earth has reached the peak of the 2nd level, while the concept of thunder and concept of wind are still at the peak of the 2nd level. However, the concept of wind has broken through and reached the small success of the 2nd level. Among the three-eyed god race that I killed just now, most of them cultivated the concept of wind. However, the bloodline of the 9 dragons hasn't leveled up. The amount of blood essence it needs now is even more terrifying. I shall first enter the mountain and river diagram to take a look at Qi Shui and the rest. After that, I shall stabilize my foundation and condense my vital essence and conceptions before breaking out of the encirclement. His cultivation had increased by 1 level to the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm. In addition to the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming was confident that he could break out of the encirclement and leave. With a thought, Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram. The moment he entered the mountain and river diagram, he discovered Bai Qi, Qi Shui, and the rest of the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect flying around the vast land. After a long time, someone finally discovered Lu Ming and gathered towards him. Zongzi, Lu Ming Zongzi. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect greeted Lu Ming. Their gazes towards Lu Ming were filled with envy, astonishment, and gratitude. A treasure like the mountain and river diagram made them envious. However, Lu Ming had saved them time and time again. They were extremely grateful towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming, this is a paradise treasure, right? I didn't expect there to be such a treasure in this world. Bai Qi Shui also flew over and looked at Lu Ming with astonishment in her beautiful eyes. This was simply a world of its own. Who wouldn't be astonished? Boss, you're really too awesome. You even have such a treasure. Vajra stepped on the void and rushed over. He looked at Lu Ming with a face of admiration. Chapter 933. You guys should cultivate here during this period. We're currently being surrounded by the three-eyed tribe. I'll hide in a palace and break out after some time. Lu Ming said. Zongzi, be careful. A disciple of the Talisman Puppet sect said worriedly. Don't worry. Lu Ming let out a smile. He then glanced at Bai Qi Shui and said, Qi Shui, let's take a walk. Saying this, he walked to the side. Bai Qi Shui followed behind him. The others were smart enough not to disturb them and found a place to cultivate. Qi Shui, you must have obtained the succession of the martial emperor, right? Lu Ming asked. That's right. Unfortunately, there's still many things that I can't see. My cultivation is still too low. Bai Qi Shui said. Lu Ming nodded his head. This was normal. For example, he had obtained Lian-Song succession, but Lian-Song had still placed a seal on him. One should not bite off more than they could chew on the path of cultivation. One had to take one step at a time to reach the peak. If one were to see too many things at once, they would be confused and lose their sense of direction. Qi Shui, how many luck points have you obtained? Lu Ming was curious. How many luck points would one obtain after obtaining the succession of a martial emperor? 50,000. Bai Qi Shui blinked her eyes and said, although she was trying her best to hold it in, her eyes were still filled with excitement. 50,000. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not feel that Bai Qi Shui had obtained too much, but he felt that it was too little. When he obtained the mountain and river diagram, he had obtained a total of 100,000 luck points. In that case, the value of the mountain and river diagram was more valuable than the succession of a martial emperor. Lu Ming, how many luck points have you obtained? Bai Qi Shui glanced at Lu Ming curiously. She was eager to try and surpass Lu Ming. A few 100,000. Lu Ming said casually. A few 100,000. Bai Qi Shui was tongue-tied and lowered her head in disappointment. Lu Ming was secretly amused. This little girl wanted to compete with him. All right, you've obtained the sovereign's inheritance. Cultivate well. I'm leaving." After saying that, Lu Ming's figure disappeared. After returning to the secret room and putting away the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and quietly cultivated to stabilize his foundation. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Lu Ming prepared to go out, now that his cultivation had risen to the 3rd level of spirit embryo realm. He was confident that with the protection of the mountain and river diagram, even strong practitioners at the 9th level of spirit embryo realm wouldn't be able to hurt him. Lu Ming left the palace and flew to the sky above one of the palaces to look outside. Outside, it was completely empty. Not a single member of the three-eyed divine race could be seen. The three-eyed divine race had actually all left. Lu Ming guessed that there were many people participating in the War of Providence. When the three-eyed god race saw that they could not find them, they left to chase after the others. I wonder if Brother Blazing Heaven, Seventh Blood Sword, and the others were killed or if they escaped. Lu Ming thought for a moment before rising into the sky and flying into the distance. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, he did not encounter any three-eyed divine race. At this moment, Lu Ming found a secret place and entered the mountain and river diagram. He informed the disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect that they were out of danger and asked them if they wanted to go out. Everyone naturally wanted to go out. The purpose of participating in the War of Providence was to find opportunities. If they were to hide here, they might as well not participate in the War of Providence. Lu Ming moved everyone out of the mountain and river diagram. How about this? During this period of time, we will move together to find opportunities and gather more disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. How about that? Lu Ming suggested. Lu Ming Zongzi will move with us? That's great. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect were overjoyed. They had already witnessed how strong Lu Ming was. With Lu Ming around, their chances of finding opportunities would be higher, and their chances of encountering danger would be lower. Lu Ming nodded his head. It was not because he was suddenly being kind. There were 2 reasons for him to do so. Firstly, he wanted to buy their support. These young geniuses would surely become the pillars of the Talisman Puppet sect in the future. It was extremely important for him to gain their support in order to control the Talisman Puppet sect in the future. If he were to give them a favor now, they would surely be loyal to him in the future. Secondly, the more providence the Talisman Puppet sect obtained, the better it would be for the Talisman Puppet sect. It would be beneficial for Lu Ming too. Thus, he was more than happy to do so. All right, we'll look for opportunities while you guys contact the nearby disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. Lu Ming said, "In this world, the transmission distance of sound transmission jade talismans was greatly restricted. The transmission distance was less than 1/10 of the outside world, or even less than 1%. Even a high-grade sound transmission jade talisman could only reach people within 100,000 li radius. With the plan in place, the group began to move. Next, Lu Ming led the group to explore some mysterious places while contacting the other Talisman Puppet sect members. As time passed, more and more Talisman Puppet sect disciples gathered. Everyone was increasingly impressed and grateful towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's strength was also acknowledged by everyone. During this period, they explored several mysterious places and obtained many opportunities. There were also some dangers, such as being hunted by the three-eyed divine tribe. However, under Lu Ming's lead, they passed through all of them. Lu Ming naturally won the hearts of the people. As time passed, Lu Ming's understanding of this world increased. During this period, he had captured some three-eyed divine tribe members and learned a lot of information from them. This world was extremely vast. At the center of this world, the three-eyed divine tribe's royal city was located there. The three-eyed divine tribe's royal city contained the majority of the three-eyed divine tribe's elite forces. With the royal city as the center, it was divided into 4 large regions. Lu Ming and the rest had been moving around in the eastern region. Presumably, there were more prodigies in the other 3 regions. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Half a year had passed since the start of the Battle of Providence. On the peak of a mountain, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. Light flashed on his body, and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. Suddenly, the aura on Lu Ming's body skyrocketed. However, in the next moment, his aura was concealed again. Lu Ming opened his eyes. 4th level of spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming smiled slightly. In these few months, the number of 3-eyed divine tribe members that he had killed was not many. Most of them were from his own bitter cultivation, and his improvement was great. For types of concepts had all entered the initial stage of 3rd level. Today, his cultivation had also successfully broken through to the 4th level of spirit embryo realm. His foundation was incomparably stable. It was extremely difficult to break through to the spirit embryo realm. In the outside world, even prodigies would find it difficult to break through to the next level without a few years. For some ordinary spirit embryo realm practitioners, it was normal to spend decades or even centuries to break through to the next level. Lu Ming had relied on his own bitter cultivation to be able to break through to the next level within 3 months. This was already considered very fast. This was also because the cultivation environment here was good. In addition, he had devoured some 3-eyed divine tribe members during this period. Other people might not have such a speed. Furthermore, the higher one went, the slower one's cultivation would be. Not far away, there were some talisman puppet sect disciples cultivating and some patrolling the surroundings. Chapter 934. The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard from afar. A figure was rushing towards them. Soon, the figure stopped not far away. It was Jimai, ranked 107th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Zongzi. Jimai flew over when he saw that Lu Ming had finished his cultivation. Jimai had also joined Lu Ming's team during this period of time. At this moment, Jimai looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. In fact, when Jimai first entered the observatory, his mental fire had already broken through to level 7. During this period of time, he had made further progress and initially thought that he had finally surpassed Lu Ming. However, during this period of time, he discovered that the gap between him and Lu Ming had widened. Lu Ming's combat ability was simply unfathomable. After hearing from the other disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect that Lu Ming could even kill the little demon lord and subdue the King Kong of the demon race, who was not weaker than the little demon lord, they immediately dispelled the thought of competing with Lu Ming and were full of admiration for him. Jimai, did you find anything? Lu Ming smiled faintly, stood up and asked. Zongzi, I did find something. Jimai said with a grave expression. What is it? Lu Ming asked. There might be a talisman puppet sect genius more than 300,000 miles away from here, but he's trapped in a place. Jimai said. Jimai immediately explained in detail. It turned out that he had been investigating the situation within a radius of several 100,000 miles when he heard the sounds of a great battle outside a valley. He looked from afar and saw that inscriptions were shining brightly in the valley. Flames were soaring into the sky. Someone was fighting. However, the aura was extremely powerful and far stronger than Jimai's. Jimai knew very well that there was definitely a genius who was far stronger than him. He would definitely die if he attacked. So he hurried back to report to Lu Ming. The person's aura was far stronger than Jimai's. He was definitely in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents, or even higher. The trapped talisman puppet sect disciple was definitely not to be underestimated. If Lu Ming's guess was right, there should be a talisman puppet sect disciple in the valley who had set up a formation to fend off attacks. Jimai, lead the way. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming said. As for the talisman puppet sect disciple, there was no need to worry because there were already many large formations set up nearby. The talisman puppet sect disciples' advantage was that they could set up a powerful formation as long as they had time to defend themselves. Ji Mai nodded and flew into the distance with Lu Ming. The two of them flew at breakneck speed, and before long, they arrived at the place Ji Mai had mentioned. Boom! A purple flame soared into the sky and filled half of the sky. At the same time, an inscription array shone and formed a light shield to resist the flame attack. Pure purple heavenly fire. They're from the Wang clan. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. He was all too familiar with the extreme purple heavenly fire. Sooner or later, we'll break through your formation, and you won't be able to escape. A cold and gloomy voice sounded. Ji Mai's expression changed. Wen Yuezhang was one of the 13 Zongzi candidates of the Talisman Puppet Sect. He was ranked 52nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, only one place lower than Li Tian. But now, when Yuezhang was in trouble. Wang Qin, I didn't offend you, but you want to kill me? A voice came from the valley. Didn't you hear what the Wang clan's supreme martial artist said before entering the Battle of Providence? If you see anyone from the Talisman Puppet Sect, kill them without mercy. The Talisman Puppet Sect is really daring. That Lu Ming is wanted by Martial Emperor Di, and you dare to accept him. You are courting death. The voice from before sounded. Haha, what a joke. I heard that the Wang family's supreme martial artist was almost beaten to death by Lu Ming. A dignified supreme martial artist almost died in the hands of a young man. No wonder he flew into a rage out of humiliation and vented his anger on our Talisman Puppet Sect. When Yuezhang's voice came from the valley, You're courting death. Along with his angry roar, the pure purple heavenly fire shone brightly. The light shield formed by the formation trembled and was on the verge of collapse. Wang Qin, who's ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly. Wang Chen was ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents. No wonder when Yuezhang was trapped here. Let's go. Lu Ming strode out and walked toward the valley. He was close to the valley in a few breaths. From afar, he could see a dozen figures standing in the air above the valley. There were men and women, and at the forefront was a young man in a purple robe. He was covered in flames and constantly attacked the valley below. Most likely, this person was Wang Qin. There were 3 young people in the valley, 2 men and 1 woman. One of them looked elegant. He stood in front and waved his hands. Purple spiritual fire danced and formed a formation to fight against Wang Qin. Behind him, a man and a woman sat cross-legged. They looked pale and were obviously injured. Meng Jia. Lu Ming recognized the woman. She was Meng Jia. As for the young man, Lu Ming also remembered him. He was Gong Fei, one of the 13 Zongzi candidates from the Talisman Puppet Sect and ranked 77th on the list of top 1,000 talents. The one fighting with Wang Qin was undoubtedly Wen Yuezhang. Who's there? As Lu Ming and Ji Mai approached, those people heard the noise and turned to look at Lu Ming and Ji Mai. It's him. Lu Ming. They exclaimed when they saw Lu Ming. At the same time, their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Lu Ming skipped the rest of the people and focused on 2 of them. One was a man and the other was a woman. The woman was Wang Haoxian. She still wore a ring around her neck. She looked haggard and her aura was weak. After so long, she was still at the 6th level of the spiritual sea realm. Logically speaking, with Wang Haoxian's talent, she should have reached the 9th level of the spiritual sea realm or even higher. Obviously, she was being controlled and couldn't improve her cultivation. When she saw Lu Ming, her eyes shone with amazing splendor. The other young man was wearing a starry robe. He was Shengxing. Back then, after the battle between the Holy Star and Mulan on their wedding day, the Holy Star had disappeared. He didn't expect to see it here. Lu Ming, it's you? Shengxing squeezed out a few words. His voice was cold, and the murderous intent in his eyes was extremely strong. His grandfather, Shangguan Zhongyuan, had been smashed to death by Lu Ming using the divine 9-dragon cauldron during the battle in 9-Dragon City. He was a spiritual god, but he had died just like that. After Shangguan Zhongyuan died, Shangguan Wuchen, Shangguan Wuling, and Shengxing's status in the Shangguan clan plummeted. If he hadn't awakened the divine bloodline, he would have been in an even worse state. Therefore, new and old grudges were added together. It was easy to imagine how much he hated Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Jimai, what are you doing here? Hurry up and leave. In the valley, Wan Yuezhang shouted when he saw Lu Ming and Jimai. Chapter 935. Ha ha ha! We've searched high and low for you, only to find you by chance. Lu Ming, you actually delivered yourself to our doorstep. That's great. We don't have to look for you. Wang Qin stopped and laughed maniacally. Stop them. Don't let them escape. Xing yelled and rushed toward Lu Ming and Ji Mai with a few other youths. Ji Mai's eyes were grave, but when he saw Lu Ming's calm face, he forced himself not to say anything. In the next moment, the youths, including Xing, surrounded Lu Ming. Up ahead, Wang Haoxian revealed a worried expression. Lu Ming, at least you know your place. You know you can't escape, so you didn't run. However, even if you stay and beg for mercy today, you'll still die. Shengxing's eyes flashed with murderous intent. At the same time, he looked confident. If not for his fear of Jimai, he would have already attacked. Idiot! Lu Ming glanced at Shengxing indifferently. Shengxing's cultivation was clear in his eyes. He was at the peak of the first level of spirit embryo realm. Shengxing's cultivation had skyrocketed to such a level. He must have had a great opportunity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to reach such a level. Shengxing was ranked at the bottom of the list of top 1,000 talents back then, but now he had reached such a level. No wonder he was so confident. With such a cultivation, he could reach the top 200. What did you say? Bastard, what did you say? The sacred star was enraged by Lu Ming's contemptuous words. Now that his cultivation had improved greatly, he was confident that he could easily suppress Lu Ming. A loser like you thinks you can be arrogant in front of me just because you have a little bit of cultivation. If you're not an idiot, then what are you? Lu Ming glanced at the sacred star before shifting his gaze to the front. Wang Qin grabbed Wang Haoxian's shoulder and walked towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming, I have to take my hat off to you. Even the genius of the Wang family fell for your charms. She actually disregarded her feud and got so close to you. She's really a slut. Today, I'm going to kill you personally in front of this slut and make her feel despair. Wang Qin stared coldly at Wang Haoxian. You better let her go. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Ha ha ha, if your heart hurts, then I'll make it hurt even more. Pa. As he spoke, Wang Qin slapped Wang Haoxian's face. A handprint immediately appeared on Wang Haoxian's face, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Wang Haoxian glared at Wang Qin. Bitch, if you keep staring, I'll dig out your eyeballs. Wang Qin shouted coldly. Wang Haoxian, don't worry. I will avenge you for this slap. Lu Ming's face calmed down, but his voice was still cold. Young Master Wang Qin, there's no need for you to kill this bastard. Let me do it. I have a grudge against Lu Ming, and I will kill him myself today. Xing said, There's no need to kill him. Cripple his cultivation first. I want him to beg for death. Wang Qin said coldly, Good, that's exactly what I want. Xing said as he strode forward. His body was covered in starlight, and 7 stars appeared above his head. The Big Dipper bloodline had 3 golden chakras shining brightly. Xing had successfully awakened the Big Dipper bloodline, which was a level 3 divine grade. No wonder he was so confident. Lu Ming, I know you've awakened a level 2 divine grade bloodline. Now I can completely crush you. Xing's eyes shone with confidence. Back in Nine Dragon City, the bloodline that Lu Ming displayed was a 2nd level divine level bloodline. Nonsense. Hurry up and make your move. I'll give you 3 chances. Do your best. This is the last chance I'll give you in this match. You won't have another chance to make your move in the future. Lu Ming scolded coldly. Shameless boasting. Die. Xingxing's starlight surged and condensed into a starry longsword. It emitted a terrifying aura as it pierced towards Lu Ming's dantian. He wanted to cripple Lu Ming's cultivation in one move. Whoosh! The starry longsword cut through the void like a meteor streaking across the horizon at an extremely fast speed. However, Lu Ming stood still as if he didn't see this sword light. He didn't even activate his protective Zhenyuan. Acting in front of me? Let's see how you'll die. Xingxing's eyes were cold. Zhan Yuan erupted, and the longsword's speed increased. Just as the longsword was about to hit Lu Ming moved and slapped out. Pum! The palm slapped the starry longsword, and it crumbled like tofu. Xingxing's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. He erupted with all his strength to stop his body from moving forward and retreated instead. After retreating 1,000 meters, Xingxing's face turned pale as he spurted out a mouthful of blood. He was not injured by Lu Ming. Instead, he had been charging forward courageously. However, he stopped himself and retreated. The reversal was too great. Under the surging vital essence, he had suffered internal injuries. Damn it! Xingxing roared in his heart. His face turned green and red with shame. Lu Ming hadn't even made a move yet, and he had actually injured himself. This was too shameful. However, Lu Ming's slap was too shocking. It had easily shattered his sword light. That was why he had retreated in shock. What an idiot. First move. 2 moves left. Cherish this opportunity. Lu Ming smiled faintly. His eyes were filled with contempt. Die. Die. Lu Ming, die. 7 stars heart slaying sword. Xingxing roared. His eyes turned red and starlight surged. Above the endless void, the Big Dipper shone brightly. It seemed to have turned into a sword light that fell from the sky and slashed at Lu Ming. This sword was very terrifying. It was several times stronger than the previous sword. On the side, the other youths looked dignified. The battle strength of Xingxing had made them solemn. In the blink of an eye, the sword light fell on top of Lu Ming's head. However, Lu Ming still slapped out just like the previous time. With a bang, the sword light shattered. It was no different from the previous time. The others were stunned. Lu Ming could actually defeat Xingxing's attack so easily. This was beyond many people's expectations. Lu Ming's combat ability is not weak, Wang Qin said. However, his tone was still very relaxed. That was because Xingxing was no different from an ant in his eyes. Even if Lu Ming was stronger than Xingxing, he was only a slightly stronger ant. He didn't take it to heart. Although Lu Ming's battle strength is not weak compared to a genius like Wang Qin, there is still a huge gap. It's very dangerous for him to stay here. In the valley, Gong Fei and Meng Jia had finished healing their injuries and looked outside worriedly. Lu Ming seems to be very calm. He knows that Wang Qin is here, but he still dares to stay. He should have some confidence. Let's wait and see. If the situation is not right, we will rush out together. Wen Yuezhang said, there is still one more move. Xingxing, is that all you have? How disappointing. Lu Ming smiled faintly. How is it possible? How is it possible? Chapter 936. Back in the Tianqian domain, on the day of his wedding with Mulins, he was defeated by Lu Ming. He swore that one day he would return the favor tenfold and defeat Lu Ming. For this, he cultivated extremely hard. With the help of the Shangguan clan, he improved rapidly. At that time, he also heard that Lu Ming had entered the 9-Dragon City and beaten up his mother. At that time, he wanted to find Lu Ming to take revenge. However, later on, there was news of the Shangguan clan's prodigy, Shangguan Jinjue, being killed. Later on, there was news of Lu Ming fighting other prodigies. Lu Ming's battle prowess had obviously surpassed his. This made him jealous and crazy. This made him cultivate even harder. He wanted to awaken his god-level bloodline and suppress Lu Ming. However, before he could awaken his god-level bloodline, Lu Ming suppressed everyone in the exchange. He even defeated the prince of the Middle Continent's ancient imperial dynasty. Later on, it directly led to the Battle of the Nine Dragon City. In that battle, not only was his grandfather, Shangguan Zhongyuan, killed, but even the Wang clan's supreme martial artist was almost killed by Lu Ming. After that, Lu Ming successfully escaped from the Nine Dragon City. After that battle, Lu Ming's fame reached its peak. However, Sheng Xing was not discouraged. He believed that Lu Ming only relied on the divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. He did not know what method he used to control the divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron. Even without the divine Nine-Dragon Cauldron, he could still defeat Lu Ming. Later on, he successfully awakened his third god-level bloodline, which greatly increased his confidence. In the Battle of Destiny, he obtained a great opportunity, and his cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the first level of Spirit Embryo Realm. He was even more confident. He felt that he could easily crush Lu Ming. However, everything that happened just now, including Lu Ming's two simple moves, completely destroyed his confidence. It turned out that in front of Lu Ming he was actually so insignificant and vulnerable. No, I must kill him. I must. Xing Xing's eyes were red. He directly used bloodline fusion and transformed into a 7 stars bloodline. He exploded with extreme power and attacked Lu Ming. If he did not kill Lu Ming, he would not be at ease. His martial heart would collapse, and from then on, it would be difficult for his martial cultivation to improve. Vast starlight pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not even look and directly punched at the starlight. Boom! The starlight trembled, and a miserable shriek came from within. Then the starlight collapsed and turned back into the holy star. He coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground like a pile of mud. His face was filled with despair. His aura was weak, and there was no fluctuation of vital essence. Lu Ming's punch earlier had already destroyed his spirit embryo and crippled his cultivation. I've said it before. Those 3 moves are your last chance to attack. Lu Ming glanced at the sacred star coldly and did not bother to look at him again. At the side, the other young men retreated in horror. They were also prodigies, but their combat power was not as strong as Sheng Xing's, so they were naturally shocked. Wang Chen, it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at Wang Chen. Haha, you think you can fight me after defeating a piece of trash. What a joke. All right, I'll let you see how big the gap is between us. Wang Chen smiled disdainfully as he slowly stepped forward. With every step he took, his aura would increase by a bit. Boom, boom, boom. The pure purple heavenly fire on Wang Chen's body soared into the sky. It was as if half the sky was dyed purple. The flames roared, and Wang Chen's eyes turned cold. 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. There was a faint sneer at the corners of Lu Ming's lips. 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm was only 1 level higher than Lu Ming. Wang Haoxian, watch how I destroy him. After the Battle of Providence is over, I'll destroy your cultivation and sell you to a brothel. I'll let you know the consequences of betraying the Wang family. Wang Chen's voice traveled far, and Wang Haoxian's face turned pale. Wang Chong said something similar before, but he's dead now. Now, I'll send you down to accompany him. Lu Ming said coldly, You killed Wang Chong? Then you deserve to die. Wang Chen's murderous intent surged. He suddenly took a step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. For kinds of intents surrounded him. Lu Ming activated the hell-suppressing heaven skill and similarly threw a punch. Boom! When the 2 fists collided, the void vibrated. Wang Chen's body swayed and he staggered backward. However, Lu Ming did not retreat at all. Everyone at the scene suddenly widened their eyes and sucked in a breath of cold air. They were shocked. Lu Ming knocked Wang Chen back with 1 punch. How was that possible? Everyone was surprised when Lu Ming easily crushed the sacred star, but no one thought that Lu Ming could fight with Wang Qin. The difference between the sacred star and Wang Qin was like heaven and earth. There was no comparison at all. Wang Haoxian's eyes lit up. Inside the mountain valley, Wen Yuezhang, Gong Fei, and Meng Jia's eyes lit up with pleasant surprise. Wang Qin, on the other hand, was furious. Damn it! Wang Qin roared furiously, his murderous aura soaring to the sky. He was actually forced to retreat by Lu Ming. This was completely different from what he had imagined. In his expectations, he would be able to beat Lu Ming half to death with one punch. Lu Ming, you must have used all your strength in that punch, right? But let me tell you, I only used half of my strength. Don't think you can stop me. Wang Qin said coldly. Oh, is that so? I only used 20% of my strength just now. Lu Ming said casually. Nonsense. You're boasting shamelessly. Strength isn't something that can be measured with words. Wang Qin's aura became stronger, and his flaming divine fist shook the world. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He was right. He had only used 20% of his strength earlier. However, it was obvious that no one believed him. Let the truth speak for itself. He stepped out and punched again. This time, the power of his punch was even stronger. It collided with Wang Qin's fist again, and Wang Qin was knocked back again. This time, there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. His strength had increased, but Lu Ming's strength had also increased. He couldn't accept it. At the same time, he was a little shocked. Was Lu Ming telling the truth? Did he only use 20% of his strength? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Kill! Wang Qin exuded a cold killing intent. His bloodline appeared, and 5 golden chakras shone brightly. He turned into a purple flame, a level 5 divine bloodline. In fact, most of the talents in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents had level 5 divine bloodline. Very few of them had reached level 6. The 6 supreme masters of the 6 ancient families only had level 6 divine bloodline. How many supreme masters were there in the entire eastern wilderness? They had accumulated over a long period of time. Swoosh! The flame turned into a sword and slashed at Lu Ming. Roar! Lu Ming released 2 streams of dragon power. His body swelled, and scales appeared on his skin. He looked demonic. Bam! Chapter 937. Lu Ming stepped forward and punched the flaming combat sword with his fists like 2 huge hammers. The flaming combat sword vibrated violently and was unable to fight back. The rest of the people from Emperor Heaven Divine Palace looked on in shock. Their eyes widened in disbelief. Wang Qin, who was ranked 43rd on the list of top 1,000 talents, was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. No one would have believed it if they had not seen it with their own eyes. Lu Ming was indeed very powerful during the exchange meet between the 3 sects in Nine Dragon City. However, there was still a huge gap between him and the top 100. It had only been a short while, and Lu Ming had reached this stage. Everyone in the top 100 was a genius among geniuses. Lu Ming had improved, and so had they. It could only be said that Lu Ming's improvement was too terrifying. Boom! 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 Wang Qin's fists continued to hit the flaming combat sword. Finally, with a bang, the flaming combat sword exploded and turned into flames. The flames drifted backward and reformed into Wang Qin's appearance. However, Wang Qin was now in a sorry state. His face was pale and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. His aura was weak and he was obviously seriously injured. He looked at Lu Ming in horror and retreated wildly. Lu Ming took a step forward and charged forward. Wang Qin must die today. Nangongbo, save me! Wang Qin shouted as he retreated. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he continued to attack. Stop! With a cold shout, a young man stepped into the air and pointed his finger. The sound of a phoenix could be heard, and a fiery red phoenix flew out, charging toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He punched out and defeated the phoenix. Then he continued to attack Wang Qin. "How dare you? Didn't you hear what I said?" The young man's eyes were cold and his body emitted light. In a flash, he appeared in front of Wang Qin. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. He also exuded a terrifying aura that was far stronger than Wang Qin's. Nangong Bo, rank 32nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, was a talent from the Nangong clan, one of the 6 ancient families. Nangong Bo is about to attack. In the valley, when Yue Zhang had a grave look on his face, the spirit fire between his eyebrows pulsed as he prepared to make a move at any time. Nangong Bo was not someone Wang Qin could compare to. "Nangong Bo, if you continue to block me, I'll kill you too." Lu Ming shouted coldly and pressed forward. He kill me too. Let's see how you're going to kill me." Nangong Bo's eyes were ice cold, and the fiery red glow around him intensified. This glow was like fire, yet not fire. Within the glow, there seemed to be the cry of a phoenix. The dark phoenix spirit seal was the most powerful technique of the Nangong family. "Scram!" Lu Ming's answer was very simple. He threw out a punch. Nangong Bo struck out with his palm. The cry of a phoenix rang out as a phoenix condensed and flew towards Lu Ming. As its wings flapped, a terrifying killing intent overflowed. This was a phoenix condensed from the Azure Phoenix Spirit imprint. It possessed terrifying power. It looked beautiful, but it was full of killing intent. Lu Ming's fist collided with the phoenix silently. However, Lu Ming's expression changed, and he couldn't help but retreat a few steps. He felt a tearing pain coming from his fist. Sweeping his gaze, he discovered that the scales on his fist had cracked and fresh blood was seeping out. What a terrifying Azure Phoenix spirit seal. It was silent, yet it could take one's life. Furthermore, Nangong Bo's cultivation was also very terrifying. He had reached the early stage of the 6th level of the spirit embryo realm. His abilities were much stronger than Wang Chen's. Chirp! The cry of a phoenix rang out again as Nangong Bo stepped forward. With a wave of his hand, another phoenix flew out, filled with killing intent. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. He was incomparably powerful. "Then I'll kill you too." Lu Ming snorted, and the dragon force in his body burst forth again. 5 dragon forces burst forth, and Lu Ming's strength increased by several times. With a punch, the phoenix collapsed. How can this be? Nangong Bo was shocked. With a wave of his hands, 2 phoenixes rushed out. Lu Ming punched with both fists. The vital essence in his body roared, propelled by 4 different conceptions, and activated the hell suppressing heaven skill. Boom! Boom! Frantically collapsing, Lu Ming took large strides forward. Nangong Bo's expression was ugly. Phoenix cries rang out continuously, and his entire body glowed. His fingers continuously formed seals in the air, and another phoenix flew out. This one seemed to have a life of its own, and its power was even stronger. Lu Ming punched continuously for a few days, and the sky rumbled like thunder. It took him 8 consecutive punches to break the phoenix apart. However, Nangong Bo condensed another phoenix. Nangong Bo was indeed very powerful. Even if they were in the same realm, the higher ranked the geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents were, the stronger they were. Otherwise, how could they be ranked at the top? Behind Nangong Bo, Wang Chen was overjoyed. With Nangong Bo around, he wouldn't die. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes as he pondered how to kill Lu Ming. Today he was crushed by Nangong Bo. He had lost face, and he had to take revenge. His eyes flashed, and he looked at Wang Haoxian. He sneered and flew toward Wang Haoxian. "What are you doing?" Wang Haoxian was shocked and quickly retreated. "Since Lu Ming cares so much about you, I'll kill you in front of him, he. Wang Qin sneered. He wanted to kill Wang Haoxian in front of Lu Ming and distract Lu Ming so that Nangong Bo could kill him. "Wang Qin, you're courting death." Lu Ming's eyes were cold, and he kept punching. However, Nangongbo's combat strength was too strong, and he entangled Lu Ming tightly. For a moment, he couldn't rush out. Hee, you're really anxious. Wang Qin sneered and closed in on Wang Haoxian. Buzz! Suddenly, the space lit up and endless inscriptions shone. A formation appeared, and several ice dragons condensed and pounced toward Wang Qin. Wen Yue Zhang! Wang Qin was furious. Flames spread out, and he fought with the ice dragons. However, he had just been injured by Lu Ming, and his combat strength had weakened. He couldn't break the formation at all. Wen Yue Zhang, Gong Fei, and Meng Jia stepped on the air. With every step they took, inscriptions would spread out under their feet. Inscriptions flashed around the space. Oh no, they're setting up a formation. Stop them. Kill. At the side, the other sky prides of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace roared and unleashed their true origin energy, charging toward Wen Yue Zhang and the others. However, the formation shone, and ice swords floated in the air, piercing through the void. Several sky prides screamed and were killed by the ice swords. Wen Yue Zhang, how dare you kill the sky prides of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace? You must die! Nangongbo roared. You should worry about yourself. 9 dragons appeared above Lu Ming's head, and he transformed into 9 dragons. Nangongbo's pupils constricted, and a fiery red phoenix appeared above his head. He was also a level 5 divine realm cultivator. Roar! The 9 dragons roared, and their devouring power erupted. They stepped on the void and used the 9 dragons' sky stomp. The phoenix let out a long cry and also used its killer move to fight against the 9 dragons. The dragon and phoenix fought in the air, making people feel as if they had returned to ancient times, when hundreds of beasts fought for supremacy. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Lu Ming became more and more courageous as he fought, and he began to suppress Nangong. Both phoenixes and true dragons were on the same level. But the 9 dragons were stronger than ordinary true dragons. They were known as the 10 strongest beasts in the world, and their combat strength was invincible. Chapter 938. Puchi. The 9 dragons unleashed their might and tore off one of the phoenix's wings. The phoenix let out a mournful cry, and its aura weakened as it retreated rapidly. The 9 dragons executed the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and chased after the phoenix, striking out with their 9 claws. Wounds appeared on the phoenix's body as it cried out in pain, and its eyes were filled with fear. With a final cry, the phoenix turned and ran, turning into a beam of light and disappearing into the distance. Nangongbo had escaped. Lu Ming did not chase after him. Nangongbo's battle prowess was very strong, and his cultivation was 2 levels higher than his. Even if Lu Ming could win, it would not be that easy to kill Nangongbo. Run! Nangongbo's escape caused the people of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace to panic. All of them screamed in horror, wanting to escape. However, the inscriptions in the surroundings shone, and a formation appeared trapping them. Wen Yue Zhang, Gong Fei, Meng Jia, and Ji Mai attacked at the same time, trapping them in that area. Lu Ming, who had transformed into 9 dragons, took a step forward and appeared in front of Wang Qin, looking at him coldly. No, damn it! Wang Qin was terrified, and a chill ran down his spine. He had never expected Lu Ming to be so terrifying. Even Nangongbo was not his match. After being severely injured by Lu Ming, Nangongbo had fled alone. Lu Ming had not used his full strength in the battle earlier. Whoosh! Lu Ming directly struck out with his claws. Puchi! Although Wang Qin tried his best to block, one of his arms was still torn off. Wang Qin screamed, and his eyes were filled with despair. Lu Ming transformed back into his human form and stepped forward, punching out continuously. Bam! Bam! Wang Qin could not block at all and was severely injured. In the end, Lu Ming's fist landed on his dantian, and his spirit embryo was shattered by Lu Ming, turning him into a cripple. Ah! Wang Qin screamed hysterically. His voice was filled with despair and resentment. Lu Ming, you will die a horrible death. You dared to offend the Emperor, Heavenly Divine Palace, and Her Majesty Empress Wu. After the Battle of Providence ends, you will definitely die in Her Majesty Empress Wu's hands. Wang Chen let out a resentful cry. With his cultivation crippled, he knew that he was finished. Even if Lu Ming did not kill him, he would still die in this world. Wang Haoxian, since he wants to kill you, I'll leave him for you to kill. Lu Ming looked at Wang Haoxian. Wang Haoxian stepped through the air and condensed a flaming sword in his hand. He looked at Wang Chen with murderous intent. Wang Haoxian, you bitch! You betrayed the Wang clan and the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. You will die sooner or later. Wang Chen shouted. Whoosh! The sword light flashed, and Wang Chen's head flew far away. Ah no, spare my life, spare my life! I don't want to die. The other geniuses of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace started to beg for mercy. However, Wen Yuezhang and the others showed no mercy. The array formation appeared, and before long, everyone from the Heavenly Emperor Divine Palace was killed. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the essence blood energy of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace disciples, turning them all into dried corpses. Wen Yuezhang and the others looked at Lu Ming's bloodline in amazement. This was the first time they had seen such a domineering bloodline. Lu Ming, thank you very much this time. Wen Yuezhang stepped forward and cupped his fists. At the side, Gong Fei and the Meng clan bowed in unison. Their eyes were filled with amazement and even shock. Lu Ming's battle prowess was too strong and had completely surpassed them. Now, in terms of battle prowess, Lu Ming could already be ranked in the top few among the 14 Zongzi candidates of the Talisman Puppet Sect. There were not many who could surpass Lu Ming. The key was that Lu Ming's progress was too fast. If this continued, it would not be long before he surpassed most people and stood shoulder to shoulder with Huanjin. You are too polite. We are all from the same sect, and it is only right that we help each other. Moreover, before the War of Providence, the elders also told us to be united. Lu Ming said with a smile. Wen Yuezhang and the others had a better impression of Lu Ming. Although he was strong, he did not have a trace of arrogance or overbearingness. He gave off a refreshing feeling. They knew that Lu Ming was someone they could befriend. Brother Wen, Brother Gong, there are many senior and junior brothers of the Talisman Puppet Sect not far from here. Let's meet there, Lu Ming said. Okay. Wen Yuezhang and the others nodded and flew with Lu Ming to the gathering place of the Talisman Puppet Sect disciples. On the way, Lu Ming also found out why Wen Yuezhang and the others were besieged. It was obvious that the Talisman Puppet Sect had been targeted in the War of Providence. Not only the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, but even the Heavenly Corpse Sect and the Sky Demon Valley would either kill or capture disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect when they saw them. During this period of time, many disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect had died. Wen Yuezhang and the others had accidentally bumped into Wang Qin, Nangongbo, and the others. Without saying a word, Wang Qin and the others attacked Wen Yuezhang and the others. If it wasn't for Wen Yuezhang and the others desperately setting up a defensive formation in the valley, and Nangongbo and Wang Qin wanted to play slowly, they would have been in danger before Lu Ming arrived. This made Lu Ming and Ji Mai grit their teeth. Did the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace and the other 2 forces really think that the Talisman Puppet Sect was easy to bully? The 5 of them chatted as they flew. Suddenly, their eyes flickered and they came to a stop. The Book of Providence appeared in front of the 5 of them. Lu Ming looked at the Book of Providence and saw a line of words on it. 9 great forbidden lands. 1 totem pillar appears. Only by gathering all 10 totem pillars can the ancient city of Providence be opened. Totem pillars. Could it be that the final treasure to open the ancient city of Providence in this War of Providence is this so-called totem pillar? Ji Mai's bewildered voice sounded. The 5 of them put away the Book of Providence and exchanged a glance. It was obvious that the 5 of them had received the same news. That should be the case. The totem pillars are the key to opening the ancient city of Providence. I didn't expect them to be in the 9 great forbidden lands. Moreover, one of them has already appeared. I wonder who has it. Wen Yuezhang said. Lu Ming also knew about the 9 great forbidden lands. He had learned from the 3-eyed divine tribe that there were 9 most dangerous places in this world. These places were called forbidden lands by the 3-eyed divine tribe. The 9 great forbidden lands were many times more dangerous than other ruins. This world was very strange. Some of these ruins weren't very dangerous to Lu Ming and the others, but they were fatal to the 3-eyed divine tribe. Once a 3-eyed divine tribe member stepped into these ruins, they would be killed instantly. These ruins seemed to be specially designed to test Lu Ming and the others who were participating in the War of Providence. This made Lu Ming feel that there was an inexplicable hand behind his back, controlling everything. The 9 great forbidden lands were even more dangerous to the 3-eyed divine tribe. They would definitely die if they entered. Lu Ming had learned about it before, but he didn't want to go because he guessed that the 9 great forbidden lands should be the most important test places. There would definitely be amazing treasures inside, but it was often accompanied by danger. Before he had the strength, he would be courting death if he went there. But now, it seemed that he had no choice but to go. Chapter 939. The Battle of Providence was generally divided into 2 stages. The first stage took about a year and was mainly a testing process. In this process, one could explore some ruins and treasure lands to obtain opportunities and luck points. One could also obtain luck points through killing. In this process, one could also continuously improve one's strength. The second stage was to open the ancient city of Providence and start the final battle. However, there were some conditions to open the ancient city of Providence. For example, one had to gather some specific treasures before the ancient city of Providence would appear. Only when the ancient city of Providence appeared would the luck points obtained in the Battle of Providence be of great use. Only then could they be truly transformed into Providence and benefit their respective sects, families, and friends. If one could not open the ancient city of Providence, the Battle of Providence would end when the time was up. Then the luck points obtained in the process would be useless, which meant that this Battle of Providence would be considered a failure. Apart from some opportunities obtained during this period, there was no other use. Therefore, the key was to open the ancient city of Providence. Obviously, this time the ancient city of Providence was opened by the totem pillars. In the 9 great forbidden lands, only those who entered the 9 great forbidden lands could obtain the totem pillars. Now, someone had already obtained a totem pillar. Needless to say, obtaining a totem pillar would definitely give one a huge amount of luck points. The few of them looked at each other, and Lu Ming said, "The closest forbidden land to us is the Sky Poison Island, one of the 9 great forbidden lands. Let's go to the rendezvous point first, and then discuss the next step," Lu Ming suggested. Everyone nodded and continued flying. Not long after, they returned to the gathering place of the Talisman Puppet Sect. The disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect were naturally overjoyed when they saw Wen Yuezhang and the others. Then, Lu Ming gathered the disciples of the Talisman Puppet Sect to discuss the 9 great forbidden lands. Obviously, everyone had received the same message in their books of providence. Many people shook their heads and chose to withdraw. I'm not going either. The 9 great forbidden lands definitely contain great opportunities, but it's also extremely dangerous. Similarly, all the geniuses will definitely gather in the 9 great forbidden lands. It's the place where the strongest geniuses will compete. Even if I go, I won't be able to obtain any opportunities. Ji Mai shook his head and sighed. Although his strength was not bad, he was still far from the top geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Then Meng Jia shook his head, indicating that he would not go. In the end, only Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and Gong Fei decided to go. On the other hand, the other Talisman Puppet Sect disciples, intended to gather together and find a good place to set up a grand formation and make it their base camp. After that, they would explore the nearby area and obtain fortuitous encounters. Lu Ming nodded. This was the best choice. If one did not have enough strength, going to the 9 great forbidden lands would only be courting death. After the discussion, Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and Gong Fei bade farewell to everyone and flew towards one of the 9 great forbidden lands, the Heavenly Poison Island. Little Gold, speed up! Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and Gong Fei sat cross-legged on the back of a ferocious golden tiger. Lu Ming urged them. Roar! The golden tiger let out an unwilling roar. The golden tiger was none other than King Kong. At this moment, he had transformed into a length of more than 20 meters. He stepped on the air and ran at an extremely fast speed. However, he was roaring furiously in his heart. It was fine that Lu Ming treated him as a mount, but he actually allowed others to sit on him. It was fine that he allowed others to ride him, but why did he call him Shaojin? Little Gold was a peerless genius of the demonic beast race, with 50% of the bloodline of a divine beast. How could Lu Ming call him Little Gold? King Kong almost vomited blood in anger. His name was so mighty, but he was called Little Gold. When Lu Ming first called him Little Gold, King Kong swore that he would rather die than obey. However, when Lu Ming said, "You want to taste the soul-splitting array again, right?" King Kong could only accept his fate. His heart was filled with resentment towards Lu Ming. What are you shouting for? Are you trying to scare me? Hurry up! Lu Ming slapped King Kong's head, causing him to grimace in pain. He ran away as he cursed Lu Ming a few thousand times in his heart. Wen Yuezhang and Gong Fei were covered in cold sweat. They were really impressed by Lu Ming. He could actually subdue a demonic beast prodigy as a mount and make him obedient. He was really amazing. The 3 of them closed their eyes and rested on King Kong's back. King Kong ran at an extremely fast speed. Soon, they had crossed over 1,000,000 miles. This place was not far from the Sky Poison Island. Lu Ming asked King Kong to transform into his human form. While Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and Gong Fei changed their appearances, they changed their clothes and concealed their auras before flying toward the Sky Poison Island. The Talisman Puppet sect was being targeted, and Lu Ming was the target of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Sky Demon Valley. It would be troublesome if they appeared in their true appearances, so they might as well disguise themselves. After changing their appearances, the 4 of them flew forward. In front of them, it became more and more desolate. There were mountains everywhere, but there was a dead silence on the mountains. After tens of thousands of miles, there was a huge sunken area between the mountains. It was a huge lake, and it was difficult to see the end of it. Green mist covered the lake, blocking one's vision. One could only vaguely see that there was a huge object in the center of the lake. That was the Sky Poison Island. There were many figures standing on the shore of the lake. They looked into the distance, but no one flew toward the lake. When they saw Lu Ming and the others, they only glanced at them coldly before turning their heads away. Swoosh! Swoosh! A few figures flew over from afar and landed on the shore of the lake. These people had dense, demonic chi. They were the prodigies of the heavenly demon tribe. This is the Sky Poison Island. The prodigies of the heavenly demon tribe were excited. Why don't you go in? A demonic beast youth in colorful clothes looked at the others and asked, "Can't you see? The lake is filled with poisonous gas. How can we cross it?" A human youth said, judging from his clothes, he should be a prodigy of the Heavenly Corpse sect. Hee, just some poisonous gas, and you stopped. What a bunch of trash. You want to fight for the totem pole? Go home. The youth in colorful clothes sneered and stepped into the air. He turned into a colorful python and flew toward the lake. The prodigy of the Heavenly Corpse sect sneered. The colorful python was very fast. In a few breaths' time, it had rushed into the lake and into the green mist. However, as soon as he charged into the green mist, he let out a miserable shriek. His multicolored body began to emit sizzling sounds as it began to rot. The colorful python desperately tried to fly back, but after a few miles it fell into the lake. Its body rotted, and soon only a skeleton was left. What a terrifying poisonous gas! Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and Gong Fei looked solemn. The colorful python had reached the 7th level, which was equivalent to the 1st level of spirit embryo realm. However, it was poisoned to death without any resistance. How can this be? The other prodigies of the heavenly demon tribe who came with the colorful python were shocked. Hee, what a bunch of idiots. Didn't you do any research before coming here? The poisonous gas in the lake is extremely poisonous. It's impossible to cross it. However, the poisonous gas dissipates for 7 days every 3 months. That's the best time to enter the Sky Poison Island. There's still half a month before the poisonous gas dissipates. Just wait. Chapter 940. Lu Ming, Wen Yuezhang, and the others' expressions changed slightly. They had not known about this beforehand. If they had not been cautious, they would have been in danger if they had rushed in rashly. It was no wonder that these people were standing by the lake and did not go over. Lu Ming and the others observed for a while and then left. Since there was still half a month before the poisonous fog dissipated, they found a place nearby to cultivate and wait. Dozens of miles away on a small mountain, the 4 of them sat cross-legged and waited for time to pass. Time flew by day. There were more and more people in this area, but most of them just took a look and waited nearby. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Lu Ming and the others returned to the shore. From the surrounding barren mountains, one figure after another flew towards this direction. Soon, there were hundreds of people gathered here. Those who dared to come here to compete for opportunities were not weak. Of course, there were also those who wanted to rely on luck to try their luck. Boom! In the sky, an extremely powerful pressure came down and weighed down on everyone's hearts. Damn it, who is it? A burly young man shouted and looked up. But the next moment his expression changed drastically and cold sweat ran down his face. In the sky, a young man in a black robe stood with his hands behind his back. Demon Qi filled the sky. His face was as sharp as a knife, and his expression was grave and stern. His eyes flashed with a bright light, like 2 demonic blades emitting light. Luo Tian, Demon Lord Luo Tian! Someone exclaimed. Luo Tian, ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Many people's expressions changed and their hearts sank. They did not expect Luo Tian to come. Is this Luo Tian? Lu Ming's eyes moved. Luo Tian's younger brother, Little Demon Lord Luo Li, was killed by him. It seems that Luo Tian already knows that I killed his brother. Lu Ming looked at a person not far from Luo Tian. It was Brother Li Tian. It seemed that Brother Li Tian did not die at the hands of the 3-eyed divine tribe. Since Brother Li Tian was with Luo Tian should already know that he had killed Luo Li. But now that he had disguised himself and restrained his aura, he was not afraid. Luo Tian, I didn't know it was you. I take back what I said. The burly young man's face was extremely ugly. His eyes were filled with fear as he stuttered. People have to be responsible for their words. Luo Tian's eyes were cold, but his voice was calm. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand. A pitch-black saber light tore through the void and slashed towards the burly youth. Go! Without hesitation, the burly young man turned around and fled frantically. However, Luo Tian frowned slightly and waved his hand again. The power of the blade light suddenly increased dramatically. It instantly cut through the void and slashed at the burly young man's head. No! The burly young man roared. Puff! The saber light flashed, and the sturdy youth was split into 2 halves. The surrounding geniuses were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to make a sound. Demon Lord Luo Tian was famous in the eastern wilderness. Who didn't know of his ruthless methods? Now that he had seen it today, it was indeed so. The burly young man had only unintentionally uttered a word of curse, and it had brought about a fatal disaster. It could be seen how overbearing he was. Moreover, that burly young man was a genius from the Emperor's Sky Divine Palace. Even if he was from the same sect, he was still killed by Luo Tian because of a single word. Haha, Luo Tian, you're really impressive. You can only show off here. At this moment, a mocking voice rang out. Everyone was shocked. Who was it? How dare he speak the truth to Luo Tian like this? Did he want to die? In the sky, a golden light flashed, and a figure appeared in the air. It was a golden-haired young man. His face was as clear as jade, and he was dressed in a golden feather robe. His body emitted a golden light, and within the light, a golden divine bird could be vaguely seen flying and chirping. A golden one. Lu Ming was shocked. He recognized the golden divine bird within the light. It was a genius from the demon clan. Jin Qi. Luo Tian slowly uttered a name. There was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. The others were also shocked. Although the demon clan of the Sky Demon Valley was not on the list of top 1,000 talents, some extremely powerful geniuses were still eye-catching. Jin Qi had the bloodline of the divine bird, the Golden Wan. It was said that the bloodline density was extremely high, at least 60%. Among the many geniuses of the Sky Demon Valley, he was ranked in the top 5. He was even more famous than Luo Tian. No wonder he dared to look down on Luo Tian. Luo Tian, with me here, you can forget about the totem pole of the Sky Poison Island. Jin Qi sneered at Luo Tian. Not necessarily. It depends on one's ability, but it also depends on luck and opportunity. Luo Tian said, Ha ha ha, luck? Opportunity? I have the strength to crush everything. Why would I need luck and opportunity? Only the weak talk like that. Jin Qi laughed. Luo Tian's face was ugly. If anyone else dared to talk to him like that, he would have killed them. However, he was not confident in dealing with Jin Qi. He felt a strong sense of danger from Jin Qi. The poisonous fog is starting to disperse. At this moment, someone exclaimed softly. Everyone looked forward. There seemed to be a gust of wind on the surface of the lake. The dense, green, poisonous fog was rapidly dissipating, and the scene in the lake became clear. There was a huge island in the center of the lake. It was about 10,000 miles away from the shore. That was the Sky Poison Island. Whoosh! Jin Qi was the first to move. He turned into a golden ray of light and flew toward the Sky Poison Island. Soon after, Luo Tian and a few other geniuses also moved. They all fought to be the first to fly toward the Sky Poison Island. Lu Ming's group of 4 blended into the crowd and flew over as well. The journey of 10,000 miles was only a few minutes for them. Many people stopped as they approached the island. Because the island was covered in a dense forest, it was completely different from the outside world. In the sky above the forest, there was a thick green fog rolling like green clouds. However, there was only a faint green fog in the forest below. Compared to the sky, it was countless times thinner. I think Jin Qi has already rushed in. Although there is poisonous fog in the forest, it is far from being comparable to the poisonous fog on the surface of the lake. It is also incomparable to the fog in the sky. It should be able to resist. That's right. As long as we don't fly into the sky, it should be fine. Let's go. One figure after another rushed into the island and disappeared. Let's go. Lu Ming's group of 4 gathered together and descended into the forest. Chi, after descending into the forest, a sizzling sound could be heard. That was the green fog corroding their protective Zhenyuan. However, it wasn't very strong and they easily blocked it. The 4 followed the forest and rushed toward the depths of the island. Not long after, they heard a mournful scream. Danger! The 4 looked at each other and lowered their speed. They focused and headed toward the direction of the scream. Not long after, they found a youth lying on the ground, no longer breathing.